Welcome into a brand new week of Three Man Front. Pat, Landrum, Conrad, Molly with you until 2 o'clock. Many of you dodging raindrops. That has been the theme over the weekend. We did get a nice afternoon yesterday at Protective Stadium. Unfortunately, the home team did not cooperate. Michigan takes out the Birmingham Stallions. We'll get into that a little bit later in the program, as it was the largest crowd of the year for the Birmingham Stallions, but unfortunately they came up short as Michigan, for the first time in the history of those two franchises, they get a win against our Stallions. So about time if you're a Michigan Panthers fan.
Yeah, unfortunately, but Michigan was the better team yesterday, and Birmingham's defense, they had trouble getting stops, and you give credit to what Michigan was able to do and using a very athletic quarterback and escaping. Credit
the fix
to Michigan.
was in, Landrum.
Bit of a momentarily with Mike Pereira. The is with that. Where's Dean? No, we crowd. And like you said, a beautiful weather.
Came Friday night late. Judge Claudia Wilkin decided that the hostage crisis, that is the House Settlement, that came to a final head. And she released the document in which we were all waiting on, and it was made official late on Friday night. The 75-year-old judge that we have been waiting for, she gave the final approval to the NCAA's landmark settlement of 3 antitrust cases. We refer to it as the House Settlement. She had a 76-page opinion, which will now permit schools, yep, you heard me right, 76 pages she had to write an opinion on.
So one more page than her age.
That is correct.
Interesting.
Maybe she's not counting the title page. Remember, like when we used to do book reports back in the day?
Yeah.
Like you have to have X number of pages, and you cannot include the title page. So maybe that's what it was. She wanted to go 76, one more than her age of 75. So the settlement, as we have discussed a million times on this program, it will pay $2.8 billion in back pay to thousands of former athletes between 2016 through 2024 for lost NIL compensation. So year one, which begins July 2025 through June of 2026, the cap amount for each school will be $20.5 million. That's another number that you're very familiar with that we talk about on this program. Each school is charged with determining how to distribute those funds. But one thing is for sure, Landrum, we all anticipate between 85 and 90% of that $20.5 million is going to go to a major football program.
Yeah, and they can divvy it up the way that they need to, but I guess the base model or the suggested model was you've got your football program, you've got your men's basketball, so 75, 15, and then women's basketball, and then the other sports. But if like Vanderbilt, if they chose to appropriate 30% to Tim Corbin and that and some of these other schools that are really strong in some of the other sports, it's at their own discretion, right?
Yeah. So in year one, if you do the math, that is roughly between $13 and $16 million for a football roster, $2 to $4 million for men's basketball, with the remaining amount shared with the women's basketball, baseball, volleyball, and other Olympic sports. But we've already heard that Auburn's going north of $20 million. That's what Hugh Freeze told Chris Lowe in an interview. We all anticipate that Alabama is going to be in the low 20 millions when it comes to that. So again, that is just a rough estimate based on what every other school in America may be looking like. So athlete payments can begin on July the 1st, but the new enforcement entity, the College Sports Commission, is effective immediately. Now, Brian Seeley, Major League Baseball's Vice President of Investigations and Deputy General Counsel, he is set to become the CEO of the College Sports Commission. Very interesting. It was buried deep in the settlement, but the Deloitte-run NIL clearinghouse, which was supposed to start on June the 30th, well, guess what, folks? It started Saturday morning. So no more these backroom dealings trying to get people under the radar screen before the original date was June the 30th. Well, now it was Saturday morning. So that's right, folks. So everything now has to go through this NIL clearinghouse. So the days of the Wild Wild West, they may revert back to the way it was before NIL, where things were done improperly under the table.
Right.
that might happen again. But as far as what has just been implemented by this federal lawsuit and this settlement, as of Saturday morning, NIL deals must be reported through the clearinghouse.
Did I see based under the clearinghouse, and I know it's all individual NIL deals that they have to review, but based on what has been put before them, that currently the NIL deals that have been done up to this point, 70%, something like that, would not be cleared under the guidelines of that.
But then they conversely said that 90% of the deals that are done through a, like the ones that you think of, hey, you're going to some burger chain to advertise for them, 90% of those deals would be approved.
Right.
Correct.
Well, those are legitimate deals.
Because those are legitimate, correct.
All right, so then on Wednesday, the brand new app, the NIL Go portal, launches. So then at that point in time, they're trying to streamline it to where if Landrum Roberts has a deal with Pat Smith Enterprises, then I could submit it through the app in regards to this is what I am willing to pay Landrum Roberts, and this is the fair market value. Then Deloitte will look at it and they will determine, okay, you want to give him $2 million, then you know what? That checks our box. You're good to go. If they come back and say, you know what? That deal's only worth $1 million market value, then at that point in time, that would be up to Landrum Roberts to decide, okay, well, you know what? I will take that $1 million from Pat Smith Enterprises, as opposed to, because you really have no way to fight that unless you want to file a lawsuit where that's
there's
going to be a lot.
That was going to be one of my questions. When's the first lawsuit?
That will happen.
But Deloitte, how many people do they staff? How many of these NIL deals on average would they get across their desk a day? And are they going to be quicker than the NCAA clearinghouse when it came to academic eligibility and under the old way of transfers, and does everything line up?
I think this is going to be a much quicker and streamlined process. This morning, the 5 conference commissioners, they're having a Zoom call as we speak. They're talking about the College Sports Commission. They're coming up with details in regards to how this stuff is going to work. Now, these conferences have not come to an agreement yet in regards to a written contract in which the SEC, the Big 12, the ACC, and the Big 10, and then we're assuming that it's going to be the Pac-12. They're going to be let back in because now they're calling it the A4 or possibly the A5, the autonomous 5, that you would think that these conferences will come to an agreement. They'll sign their names to it, and then everybody will move forward. Kind of like that agreement that we were talking about a week ago in regards to Tennessee. They've got state laws that's going to basically contradict the things that the College Sports Commission is going to do, but Tennessee is supposedly going to sign, just like Vanderbilt is, to remain a good foreign member of the Southeastern Conference and not sue over certain things.
What's going to be very interesting to me is for these programs, and I'm not going to call any out individually, but let's just say the non-SEC, the non-Power 4 programs as we know them right now, that were having trouble finding whether it was your booster base, whatever, to find ways to finagle, or just were not willing to play ball and kind of get in that shady area of where did the money actually come from. If this actually helps, because everything is above board when it comes to revenue sharing from the institution, and those schools that were struggling to find ways to just meet the minimum of what I guess the going market is for certain players, let's just say for football, for instance, Conrad, what does that look like now for those programs? Is this an infusion, kind of a shot in the arm, and is saying, hey, you know what, this is not the most level playing field because you still have the Power 4, but it's a lot more level than where we were, say, 6 months ago.
Yeah, no, I see. The thing that I'm interested with this is because you are going to have the players that you have the $20.5 million, and I'm just interested to see what programs or what universities, how they allocate those funds. Because as far as I know, we have the estimate, and we've heard 70% is going to go to football, 15% is going to go to men's basketball. But what's going to happen when you have these programs? Are there going to be some schools that say we're going to give 100% of this to college football, or at least for 1 year, and see what that kind of gives you? In terms of the resources you have available to you, because we know not everyone's going to hit the 20.5, but the ones that can.
Like if Boise wanted to make a run.
Yeah, do you just say, hey, we're going all in on football this year because we brought it up? What about the Gonzagas of the world? You have a lot of money for basketball and a lot more money than these other programs are going to have. So are they going to become, the national powerhouse of basketball because they don't have to fund football as well?
Well, the big key is going to be Wednesday. That is the line of demarcation for schools. That is the opt-in deadline. You have got to say one way or another, are you opting in? Are you going to pay $20.5 million per year? And that's where it's really going to be interesting to see likes of UAB, of Troy, South Alabama, Coastal Carolina, App State, these smaller schools that we all know they do not have the budgets of an Alabama or Auburn. Greg Byrne gave an interview over the weekend to ESPN, and Alabama is running at a deficit in their athletics department. If the University of Alabama is running a deficit in their athletics department after you made about $26 million in football?
$26 million in football and $5.9 in basketball.
So that's $31 million profit off of those two. But based on everything else that you play at the University of Alabama, you are running at a deficit. If that's happening at Alabama, how in the world can these smaller programs like the Troys, the South Alabamas, and the UAB, how can they opt in on this?
It's hard to imagine that some of them can. All I could say was maybe some of the luxuries that those other sports used to enjoy. Now it's, hey, you're not traveling that way anymore.
True.
By the way, we're no more alternate uniforms. None of this other fun stuff. The little bit that you were getting, we're going to have to take that away if you want to continue to be a student/athlete here. And I do say that because they are student athletes.
Well, and I think you just wonder, too, is the future a separation where you have the $20.5 million and you have a bunch of these other schools that say, hey, we can't do that. What if we have our own classification and it's $5 million a year, right? That's manageable for a lot of these schools maybe, as opposed to $20 million, because that playing field's never going to be even if everyone's operating with the same.
Yeah, because where is that money coming from? If you're getting, let's just say from the American, your revenue share, you're getting $6 million, and you're expected every year to divide that up. What does that look like? You're not going to be able to pay $20.5 million a year.
No, and Conrad said it. I mean, we've said it before. You're going to have to start and create another subdivision. Like you're going to have a division of the big boys, of the Alabamas and the Auburns of the world, and then you're going to have a subset in football. I'm not talking about basketball.
Right.
Basketball is a completely different animal. But when you have got to scholarship 85 players and you're looking at 85 or 90% of what you generate going to football and to paying football players, you're going to have a subdivision to be able to afford to even play football, period. Because you're just not going to be able to afford it.
Right now, for the non-Power Fours, and even some of the Power Fours, let's be honest, when a kid comes in, say out of high school or through the transfer portal, what are you selling them? Well, the kids out of the transfer portal, now it's really just about money with most of these guys. Are you really selling, hey, you're going to have a chance to get to a college football playoff? I know some will say that for their fans, and they'll put it on the website and whatever, Wolverines or – anyway, schoolmascot.com. But how many of those kids, they're going there because they think they're going to have a chance to compete for a college football playoff berth?
Well, a lot of them,
if they were honest, a lot of them aren't.
Well, and a lot of them, if they were honest, they would say, I want to go there, show what I can do, and then go play for that program where I can actually compete for a championship.
Well, you're going to continue to have what happened with, and I'm just going to use UAB as an example, not picking on them, just giving you the facts. You had Yaxel Lindenborg, leaves for Michigan, gets a huge payday. One of the best UAB baseball players, third baseman, he commits to Auburn over the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, he was one of the up-and-comers in the American Athletic Conference, one of the best players on UAB's roster in baseball.
A kid that grew up in Auburn, whose mom works in Auburn, but had to go somewhere else to prove himself.
So he comes to UAB, has a great year, and now he's going to Auburn because Auburn can pay him, because Auburn has stepped up their NIL game over the last year. And they continue to do it over the weekend. So nothing wrong with that. I'm just pointing that out. You're going to see more stories like this all the time. And it sucks for UAB. It sucks for Troy. It sucks for South Alabama. It sucks for Jacksonville State. But that's the world you're living in. So you're going to have to do something potentially to protect those schools. And to me, the only way that you can do that in football is to basically have another subclass outside of the top 60 schools and let schools 60 to 134 compete at their own different level.
And they can have their own playoff and
your
all
own
that.
championship and whatever the case may be.
I don't want to speak for all UAB fans. You're a UAB graduate. We're both on the broadcast. Let's just say for football, I would have absolutely no problem with that.
Zero. Jacksonville State, look at how many championships Jacksonville State won at the lower division level, right?
Yeah.
Does that take away anything from Bill Burgess and what he did
Absolutely not.
as the head coach of Jacksonville State
Mm-mm.
in the championships? No, absolutely not.
No.
North Alabama, all the championships that they won in football.
And look at some of the other schools. Western Kentucky, what they did at the FCS level.
Yeah.
Before they
Harbaugh's
jumped up.
dad.
Yeah.
Won all those
we
championships.
love talking about North Dakota State. No one says, oh, well, they're in the FCS. It's, man, look how many championships they win. They're incredible every year.
But folks just better get ready because this is going to come at you fast and furious. You are going to be drinking out of a fire hose when it comes to information. And we're going to give you some more information as the morning progresses because this commissioner Zoom call that they're having right now, there's some interesting things that are being said in regards to what is going to happen moving forward. And we all know that football, college football, is what is the straw that stirs the drink. And at the end of the day, that is going to pay the bills.
Well, I think at the end of the day for football, at least in this state, the number one reaction you would get from Alabama fans would be, all right, how does this affect Ryan Williams? And from Auburn fans, how does this affect Cam Coleman?
Sure.
No, they're good. Nothing really changes. All right, RTR, WD. But there will be a lot deeper implications for other sports, other athletes on that team, and for other schools that do not reside in one of those Power 4 conferences.
When we come back on Three Man Front, we will continue this conversation. Joining us at 11 o'clock will be Mike Rodak from Bama 247. We'll get his thoughts on Alabama's athletic department operating at a deficit, what this potentially could mean moving forward for Alabama football. What's the price tag for their NIL for this upcoming 2025 season? We'll talk Stallions, the future of the Stallions. We've got a poll question out there on what our listeners think is going to happen next year. We'll get into that. Take your calls and your texts. This is Reaction Monday, Three Man Front, Jocks 94.5. So one of the big stories that has been coming out of this conference call, the Zoom call this morning, is that Greg Sankey confirmed that he played golf with Donald Trump yesterday. Did not see if Nick Saban was involved in this golf round, but Greg Sankey was.
You think Trump makes you put everything out, or do you get that? Yeah, it's in the leather. Go ahead. I'll let you have it.
It's interesting that he also played with the athletics director from Notre Dame, Pete Bavacqua.
Yeah, they've gotten to be kind of buddies, haven't they?
So Notre Dame to the SEC?
Yes, let's start that rumor now.
If you remember when they had to reschedule after the tragic events that happened in New Orleans between Georgia and Notre Dame, and he went on, it was Paul's show. He was talking about he had great communication and correspondence with this guy. Yeah, let's go ahead and make that prediction. Notre Dame to the SEC within 5.
He said the president was able to give him and Pete a lot of interesting perspectives.
You're holding the club wrong. Number 1.
But he says, I believe the things that we discussed are best left off the moment on the golf course. So it's not going to give us any hint at what was discussed, but they talked.
Well, we have a long summer of heat and humidity ahead, so keep your home comfortable with Trane, America's most reliable HVAC brand. And to give you more peace of mind, Trane is offering up to 10-year warranties on parts and labor on select home comfort systems. So to learn more about this offer and to find a specialist near you, visit Trane.com.
Okay, so what else has been discussed on this Zoom call of the Power 5 commissioners holding this virtual press conference to discuss the House settlement and how they're going to move forward as a group? First and foremost, the College Sports Commission, there has not been a formal agreement signed, but according to Brett Yormark, that there will not be any pushback from his conference in regards to signing the document. So that was interesting how he spoke up and said that, because a lot of people thought that obviously himself and Jim Phillips of the ACC have been kind of, let's just say, rocking the boat a little bit when it comes to the college football playoff. But in regards to the College Sports Commission, he says that he believes that it will be signed and executed very, very soon. Speaking of Yormark, he said the affiliation agreements with all the other conferences are continuing to be worked on. It is a work in progress. Jim Phillips says in regards to the punishments that will be levied out by the College Sports Commission, he says we're in the process of putting together the structure. Nothing to date right now to come forward with. So basically, it sounds like a lot of continued conversations amongst the group of 5, not group of 5, sorry, the Autonomy 5. That's what they're calling themselves now, the A5. So, but all this stuff is a work in progress. So we'll see how it goes.
What are you feeling like on the enforcement side with this commission? I would think that because some of them you would adopt that the NCAA was using, but I would think that vacation of wins, those would probably go away. I don't know how much that's actually done anymore. Anyways.
Yeah, that was done for the NCAA rule book.
Right.
So that somebody could officially say, no, Vandy did beat Alabama back in 1997 because of NCAA vacated wins.
Yeah. But is there actually language in some of these, and I guess it's a case-by-case basis, but that's where they got in trouble, where it appeared in the 90s that they had Auburn and Alabama in their sights, and they had it out for them, and you looked at some of the other things that were going on across the country at other schools in very similar cases, and they would get a much lighter sentence. Do we see more show causes that are put in there for coaches that are found violating these? I would think that would deter some, at least when it comes to tampering.
So according to John Talty, he had an interesting article that came out late yesterday afternoon. Here's the winners and losers from the House settlement. Winners, athletes and revenue sports, i.e. football, basketball, some women's basketball, obviously. The future of collective bargaining, that's a big winner. The Big Ten and SEC in football, huge winner, because they can afford the $20.5 million or pay whatever you want to your football team. Big East basketball. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about in the first segment of the show with Gonzaga.
Yeah.
When you have certain schools that are so-called basketball powers, like I'll use Mike Rodak, who's coming on at 11 o'clock. His alma mater is Providence. They don't have a football team. So guess what? They want to put all their money to basketball? Go for it.
I know Duke, it appears that they care, but Duke basketball versus Duke football. I know.
Yeah. Billable hours. That's a winner.
Yeah.
Because despite this settlement, more lawsuits are going to come. And this settlement is going to need federal legislation. Because if you don't get federal legislation, everything that this settlement came in will now be picked apart in lawsuits. So unless you have the feds, like they did Title IX, this stuff is not going to hold water. It's just not. So get ready. So billable hours, the winner. Losers, renegade boosters. You know, those folks that just wanted to pay whatever amount of money they wanted to pay.
Conrad, we'll get you another side gig.
I know. Got to find another school.
Amateurism is dead as we know it. It's been dead for a while, but now it's officially dead. Like you could write on the epitaph on top of the gravestone the exact date in which amateurism officially died. Group of 5 schools, biggest losers, as we discussed, UAB's, South Alabama, Troy's, big losers in this. And non-revenue sports. As Pat Forty reminds us all, the Olympic sports.
Rifle, rowing,
you know. So we'll see what happens. But those are
crab soccer.
Those are some winners and losers when it comes to this House settlement.
I think Judge Claudia Wilkins, a winner.
Why? Because she's retired now?
Yeah, and she signed off on this, and we don't know if there's going to be any tweaks or adjustments, but I would think for the foreseeable future, so we call her the grandmother of college football as we now know it.
I bet she had a wild celebration this weekend. Imagine, you're clocking out on Friday, you've gotten this done. I'd have a hell of a retirement party.
I could see her gathering up all of her 11 cats that she has in her house.
That's right.
And she's like putting them in the den.
You're stereotyping her as a cat person?
And she's just like having the yarn ball and she's just like bouncing it back and forth with her 11 cats.
I'll tell you what, y'all are all getting wet food tonight. It's a good Friday.
It's a Friskies Friday. Mama's coming home. I bet her bridge club's like, thank goodness, Claudia. Get in here.
Well, she probably also wanted to get the settlement done before the rioting took place in California. So she wanted to get that out of the way. She goes, yeah, I hear there's a lot of stuff going on this weekend, so let me go ahead and get this out of the way so I can Katie bar the doors to my house and go down to my cellar and make sure that nobody attacks.
I thought they were celebrating a championship of some kind out there. I didn't know that was.
Yeah, I think they were celebrating UCLA beating UTSA to go to the College World Series. I think that's why they're rioting.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah. Bruins baseball is alive and well.
Big Ten baseball.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Big Ten baseball. You're claiming
beating UTSA. It's like
claiming them.
Wow. All right. More 3-man front. We'll get to your calls, your texts. Mike Rodak at the top of the hour. This is Jocks 94.5. 10:33, Jocks 94.5. Welcome back in. This is Three-Man Front on an ugly-looking start to the week. Weatherman says that maybe midweek, going to get some of this out of here. Just the typical afternoon showers. But at least we had a beautiful day yesterday afternoon, kind of salvaged the weekend. Unfortunately, not a very good weekend if you're an Auburn baseball or Birmingham Stallions football fan.
And Coastal Carolina, that's good. That's a good. There's a reason why they've now won 23 in a row. But those guys can rake and pitch and play the field.
I think they're 53-11 on the season.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good record.
Do you see some of the viral videos they did after the game, where they were taking clips from a lot of podcasting folks?
Oh, the doubters, and yeah, that's the popular thing to do nowadays.
Yeah, was every one of their runs that they had on Friday by way of a home run? It seemed like it was, but timely hitting, and you just tip your hat to them.
Well, and we were talking on Friday about like bizarre things in sports that don't happen a lot. How about on Friday, bottom of the ninth and bottom of the 10th innings for Auburn, you have a guy in scoring position. Second baseman makes a diving catch and doubles the guy off at second. Both innings to end the. I mean, that's you don't see that happen very often. Once in a game, let alone twice.
And back-to-back innings.
In back-to-back innings with the game on the line.
Yeah.
Well, the problem for Auburn, they were 1 for 14 with runners in scoring position all weekend.
That will not get you.
No, that won't play.
Get you wins.
No.
Nope.
You know, tough time for that to happen. How about our friends at Dobbs Ford? You can get the Parkway East right now and go and see the Goshens, Joey and Rachel, husband and wife, for the entire team at Dobbs Ford. You're going to get Alabama's largest showroom selection right now. You got Ford employee pricing on certain makes and models, 90 days until your first payment. But the selling point, not only a great selection, and they'll beat any competitor's price, all of that good stuff. But the great thing is you're going to deal with just genuinely salt-of-the-earth people. Dobbs Ford, go and check it out for yourself. DobbsFordBirmingham.com is the website. And when you go and see them there on Parkway East, make sure you tell Dobbs Ford and all the folks there that Landrum from Three Man Front sent you.
This is Reaction Monday. Love to hear from you. 1-800-239-WJOX. The Courtesy GMC text line 205-834-9450. Be curious if you went to the Stallions game yesterday. Stallions lose 44-29 to Michigan. Jamar Smith had that pick six that led to his benching yesterday. He was 4 of 10 passing for only 100 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Matt Corral came in better, 147 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, interception. But Bryce Perkins, who did not play a couple weeks ago when the Stallions played Michigan, he was 20 of 25 for 238 yards, 34 rushing. And to me, the big play of the game when I almost call him UAB, when the Stallions had him 3rd and 14 in their own territory, and he runs for 29 yards, and it seemed like about 8 Stallions had an opportunity to bring him down.
It looked like Jalen Milroe trying to tackle someone after he threw an interception.
It was bad. It was really bad.
The crossing route touchdown where you had the missed tackle, kind of the reset, that was really bad.
Stallions only 303 yards of total offense, and they had really been clicking as of late.
I'll give Matt Corral some credit. When he came in the game, he threaded the needle a couple of times.
He did.
I did think the officiating, I know this is not what cost them the game, but I thought that it seemed like every call was going against the Stallions.
It was rough.
Because essentially it was.
It was rough. And if you look at the final stats from a penalty, I think Michigan had more, technically, than Birmingham. But it seemed like every time Birmingham got a penalty, it was at the worst opportune time in the game. And for the life of me, I want someone to explain it to me. I mean, I'm a baseball umpire. I need to talk to a football official. But how can you call someone that is jumping off sides claiming that he was not in the neutral zone and you made the offensive lineman move for a legal procedure call, but you claim that the defender had not gotten to the neutral zone?
Yeah, some of that.
That, and I still don't understand how they
the hands to the face.
Yeah,
that one was bad. I still don't understand how they overturned the turnover at the end of the first half, where they ruled it a fumble and a Stallions recovery on the field, and you could hear the official on the screen in the stadium say, "I don't know," and then 30 seconds later he overturns the call. I thought you're supposed to have inconclusive evidence.
If there was ever going to be a call on that play, it should have been down by contact.
Yeah,
not an incomplete pass.
It was bizarre.
So that was a game changer for sure. 10,928 was the official attendance. That is the largest attended game this year for the Birmingham Stallions. So we threw out a question because there have been a lot of conversation, not on this program, but of other shows and podcasts around the country claiming Birmingham is in trouble and that the Stallions will not be back in the Magic City next year because of the poor attendance. So we asked the audience, Molly, just a simple question about next year.
Yeah, do you believe the Stallions will be back for another season in Birmingham? Yes, giddy up, or no, they'll be relocated. And I like the results so far because yes is winning with 57.5%. No, they'll be relocated with 42.5.
I would love for the naysayers. Where are you gonna put the franchise? You're gonna move to New York? Nothing going on there. Yeah, people they'll gravitate there. You're gonna throw it to another city where they have a NFL franchise right now?
Let's put another team in Texas.
Why
That's what we need.
isn't there still a team in New Orleans? Why is there not still a team in Pittsburgh? Why is there not still a team in New York? Right?
So there's a couple of podcasts out there, and we played one for you a couple weeks ago. The guy that wears the DC Defenders cap.
Mhm.
I mean, he is an absolute hater of a lot of the USFL franchises, including Birmingham. You know, basically saying that, you know, for a team that's had the success that Birmingham has had and the city of Birmingham will not support it, it needs to move. It needs to go somewhere. Coming from a guy where I think DC averages around 12,000.
Well, coming from a guy from just that sports town here lately.
Yeah. So, but anyway,
you got room to talk.
Obviously the league can do whatever it wants to. But I'm one of these guys that I am going to back up what I'm going to say on this radio station with cold hard facts. And as I have said from day one of this league, the most important facet to this league's success is not how many butts are in the seats, but it's the television ratings. The official television ratings for the 10-game regular season came out. And of the 10 franchises in the UFL, St. Louis finished second behind Birmingham, Alabama, as the most watched UFL city in the entire league. Let me repeat that. Birmingham, Alabama outdistanced itself once again as an incredible television market, being the number one market for UFL football. If you move your number one market viewing to another city, why do you even have the league? Yeah, I'm disappointed like other people not having 15, 20, 25, 30,000 people there. Sure, I would love to see it. But from a television marketing standpoint, this has been a success in Birmingham. Yeah. And at the end of the day, every single executive that I have talked to on the air and off the air have told me that is the most important facet to the success of this league. It is not the 10,928 that showed up yesterday. It is the fact that Birmingham, Alabama, in the 10 contest, they had a 2.7 rating. The city of St. Louis, that draws nearly 30,000 people a game, averaged 2.67% of their audience in St. Louis. So Birmingham beat St. Louis, and it's not even close. St. Louis and Birmingham far outdistanced the 6 other UFL cities at TV viewership. Among the rest, only Detroit averaged more than 1%. 1% of their total market was watching Michigan Panthers football games. 1%. The other markets didn't even draw that, including being in one of the top markets in America, in Houston and in Dallas.
So this whistlehead on this podcast, he's just hey, look at me.
Now, could the UFL decide, hey, we're not happy with the stadium agreement we have. We're not happy with whatever. We're going to move the Birmingham Stallions to Columbus, Ohio. Sure, it could happen. But it's going to be another reason besides the fact of the television ratings that is the most important thing that this league cares about. So hats off to Birmingham. Once again, we have proved that this is an incredible market when it comes to watching sports, whether it's the Idaho Potato Bowl or it's the Birmingham Stallions. People in this town watch football, and they watch the UFL for 10 regular season games.
Well, and for the game yesterday, quickly on the text line, this one comes in from Big Mo. He says, good morning, folks. We went to the game yesterday. The atmosphere was exciting. The only thing that went wrong was our team didn't show up, but as far as them coming back for next year, I would hope that they do.
And I think that's the sentiment of the majority of the people out there. And I was telling Conrad this earlier. So I was in the press box. You guys were in the stands. And the one downfall of being in the Protective Stadium press box is the only press box I've ever been in America that you cannot open a window. So you can't tell, if it's windy outside, you can't tell if it's hot, cold, whatever the case may be.
In your particular area, you can't open a window.
Now you can if you're broadcasting down the way. But
if you're in the radio or TV booth, you can open it.
But those are the only windows that you can open on the whole press box level. But where the media sits, you cannot. I could hear the crowd on third down. You could feel the rumbling of the stadium in the press box. And outside of being at the Birmingham Bowl when Auburn played Houston, I'd never felt that before.
Yeah.
So the crowd was in it yesterday. And that's a major kudos.
And there were more people at the Battlehawks game last year, but I thought the crowd was more enthusiastic yesterday than what you had when you had a few thousand more last year.
And hats off to the Stallions for letting the drum corps come in.
Yeah, that was cool. Where were they from? What? Was it high school?
I don't know where they were from, but they did an outstanding job because you had the feel of a college atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
I told Conrad, I said, I did not know you could do so much with just cymbals and drums.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Oh, yeah, there were like a dozen of them, and it was super loud.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
And the grandmas at halftime.
Oh, the golly, what do they call them? Because something seniors.
The Crazy Swingers, isn't that what you
The Crazy Seniors.
Oh,
not swingers. But then Pat informed me that they actually brought them down from New Jersey.
Yeah, they're called the Lady Sensational Dancers. That's what they're called.
They called themselves something else yesterday.
They got famous at New Jersey Nets games.
Oh, okay.
60 plus.
Hey, it was legit too, man.
I was impressed because of the longevity of the routine.
Yeah.
Now, if Molly would have been there, Molly could have given us her professional opinion of what they did. But, I mean, I've been like, you know what? After that first song, you would have thought, okay, might be shutting it down now.
Mm-hmm.
But those ladies 60 plus, they were bringing it.
I just felt bad for the grocery store mascot that was out there. Landry and I were having fun watching that poor soul.
That poor individual that was in the Piggly Wiggly outfit. Yeah. It was.
There's a lot of entertaining stuff.
It was a lot of entertaining stuff. Hey, Claudia Wilkin, could she join maybe the dance
That's
line?
The next phase of her life.
Her and her cats.
You could actually probably do a really good halftime routine if you could train all the cats.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like the frisbee catching dogs.
There's something you could do with that.
I'm sure. But so we'll see what happens with the UFL. But once again, another great decision having the St. Louis Battlehawks host the championship game for the second year in a row. They're not in the championship game.
No, attendance doesn't win championships.
No, they had 27,000 there last night in the Dome in St. Louis, but not enough for them to beat D.C. So D.C. and Michigan will hook up in St. Louis coming up for the UFL championship. More three-man front on this Reaction Monday. This is Jocks 94.5. It is 10 minutes in front of 11 o'clock. We will talk to Mike Rodak from Bama 247 coming up at the top of the hour. We'll get the Alabama perspective on the House Settlement. Let's get some phone calls. Got a full bank of calls on this Reaction Monday. Landrum, do the honors.
Let's go to Chris. He is in Forestdale. Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm good. How you guys are doing?
We're doing great. Thank you.
Well, I was there at the game yesterday at my usual spot, so I know what y'all talking about. The the ones that did the drums, that was the freestyle band. They're not a high school band or anything. They were just brought in, so yeah, that was very entertaining. Plus the halftime show of I think it was called Tracy's Sensational Seniors.
Okay, Sensational Seniors.
Yes.
They were great.
They were fantastic.
Oh, they were very entertaining. As for the game itself, I was not too pleased with that because on defense they couldn't get off the field on third down, and plus on offense they kept turning the ball over at the wrong time and stuff. So that's what really killed them.
Yeah, that defense, that was a far cry from what we saw against Memphis last week. But you give credit to Michigan. This is a team that you faced for the third time this season, and you had something to prove, and you had your one of your best players, if not your best player, at quarterback. And man, he was tough to handle. He played a great game. Bryce Perkins, I mean.
Well, yeah, that's true. But all good streaks come to an end. But we should start a new one next year, though.
Let's do it. Let's do it, Chris. Giddy up. We appreciate your phone call. Thanks for listening.
No problem.
All right. See you. Let's go to our buddy Don, who was there. I did not see him yesterday, which I was disappointed I didn't. Hey, Don, how are you? I did not see you at church, but I heard that you were there at some point.
Lander, buddy, I messed up, and as y'all know, I'm always involved in the tailgate with my horsemen, and I had to get there to help them set everything up. But I did come, and I got to see your great Pastor Jeremy. What a guy, man! I had a great time talking to him. But I was there. What was there? I just had to leave. But I'm going to try to get off work once a month and come with you in PG and everything. And speaking of PG and Hastings and everybody, we had that's probably the best tailgate we've had all year. And I know it's tough for y'all to get there and everything. But we didn't miss seeing y'all. But I heard Hastings found y'all and came and joined you. But me and Gary the Gringo and PG and his son and Creed and everybody, we had a great social taco crowd there. We tried to find. We knew that you and some of you guys were in the stands. We tried to come. Y'all were in section 107, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We came down there at halftime to try to find you guys. Just couldn't find you. But Hastings just disappeared on us, Pat. And I said, I guarantee you, Hastings went to go find Pat.
Well, unless he had a press credential and getting on an elevator's, it's a secured area, but
he was with us.
We were thinking about that, but Lander, did he come find y'all?
Yeah, he came, sat with us. We sat with our good buddy Joey Mullins, the Sanford sports information director, and Damien. He was there, and it was me and Conrad. Yeah, we had a good time, and my wife. So.
Oh, there you go. Well, we're sorry we missed you guys yesterday, but we did get to meet. Our center, I believe his name's Rob Snyder. Is that right?
Sounds right.
Yeah. But his beautiful girlfriend and his mom and their family, they came and joined us and everything. And my horseman group, I tell you what, Pat, I'm very proud of them. They just take over the game. They're down in section 104 with the guy, the people that are banging their signs on the wall and everything. They make a lot of noise, don't they?
No, they do. No, it was a great atmosphere yesterday.
And everything, but unbelievable. But I want to give a shout out real quick if I can. I met a great guy yesterday. He cooked all the chicken for us at our tailgate, and he used to be a youth football coach, Pat, kind of like you. I know you coach and your kids and everything. But what a great guy! His name's Coach Jackson, and he's going to come to a lot of my little parties I like to have. And I need him to make some chicken and bring it to y'all. You guys got to taste his chicken. Oh my Lord,
love me some chicken. Sounds good.
All right, guys. Well, thank y'all. See everybody tomorrow.
Thanks, Don.
Sounds good.
Appreciate it very much.
I guess he's talking about Cole Snyder. Guy with a great mustache.
Oh, yeah. So what's next for the Alabama Crimson Tide Athletics Department now that the House Settlement is in the books? We'll ask Mike Rodak, who covers Alabama athletics. He's next on Three Man Front. Welcome back. It's Reaction Monday. Jocks 94.5. This is Three Man Front. We'll be joined in a couple of seconds with Mike Rodak from Bama 247. Get his thoughts on the House Settlement, what that means for the University of Alabama's athletics department. We've had those heavy storms this weekend. Golston Tree Services, who you need to call, 205-337-4443. Golston Tree Service handles the little jobs and even the big ones, like trees coming down on your property, your house, your car's in the driveway. They've got the 24-hour emergency storm work service. 205-337-4443 is the number. Golston Tree Service has been around for 35 years, helping the homeowners solve those most challenging issues around your property, like those downed trees or the trimming of the trees or getting the roots out. So just call them today at 205-337-4443.
Our friend Mike Rodak, who covers the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of Bama 247, joining us now. All of our guests join us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Mike, how are you on this rainy Monday?
Doing pretty well. How are you guys?
Doing great. It was the Friday news dump, right? That's what we kind of expected. The House Settlement, it's in. Judge Claudia Wilkins, she rules. Any unforeseens or anything that kind of caught you by surprise once you started reading through the documents?
No, I mean, it was pretty much as expected. I think, all of the details of it had already been put in place. It was really just up to the judge to approve it or not approve it, and she obviously approved it. So in terms of like new content, there wasn't much. I think the sticking point had always been the idea of roster spots being eliminated immediately. That's kind of what held up the approval for a while, and then the NCAA agreed to let players stay on that are currently on a roster to get grandfathered in, and that seemed to satisfy the judge, so she approved it. So it's really what had been reported and what had been expected, for several months, if not a year, finally being put into place and happening, 3 weeks before the implementation date, which is July 1st. So nothing new, but once it actually happens, everything kind of gets set in motion.
It is interesting because I guess we call them now the A5 commissioners. They were on a Zoom call this morning in regards to how they're going to, I guess, participate amongst one another. They still have no signed documents in regards to everybody being in agreement on this College Sports Commission. But once that is done, do you think that College Sports Commission is going to have more bite than the NCAA? And how important is it that it does have more bite? Because as we've seen in the past few years, the NCAA is a neutered organization.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there's been all sorts of antitrust lawsuits and things against the NCAA that have really not allowed it to have the rules that people want them to have. Like, you hear it all the time. People say, oh, why can't the NCAA stop NIL? Why can't they make the transfer portal, you have to sit out a year? Well, federal judges have ruled that they can't. So that's really the issue. It's not an NCAA choice. It's something that's been forced upon them by the law. And the same thing would hold true for the College Sports Commission, which is going to be in charge of the salary cap, essentially. If they get sued, then the whole House Settlement structure is going to fall apart. So really what the conferences have tried to do is put together, they call it an affiliation agreement, where if you want to be part of the SEC or the Big Ten or whatever, you have to agree to play by the rules and agree not to sue them and agree not to sue the College Sports Commission. And so that's kind of the vehicle that they're trying to use. And look, I mean, there has to be a level of buy-in. I think even like an NFL owner has to agree to play by the rules, to not circumvent the salary cap in the NFL. I mean, I guess in theory, the NFL could kick a team out of the league or whatever, but if you're part of the club, you kind of have to play by the rules. And I think that's kind of the idea that these commissioners are trying to get across to the schools, is you can't make a state law that puts you in an advantageous spot compared to another school. So you're playing by a different set of rules, which is what several states have done to this point. So that's kind of the goal of it. Whether it works out or not, I don't know. I think it will have more bite than the NCAA if they can get schools to agree to, it's almost like an indemnity agreement, the affiliation agreement that says you can't sue us. But there's always a school trying to find the way to get ahead. There's always a state that has school leaders pushing it to get ahead. There's always boosters trying to get ahead. So, there has to be a level of doubt and a level of skepticism, but I do think the system overall is better than what it's been. We'll just have to see over time how it plays out.
Mike, I know that the College Sports Commission is going to serve a legitimate role, but is some of this window dressing when we think about the old big bad NCAA and enforcement allegation stuff that was turned to them in the past, and they had that enforcement arm, they launched the investigative process, which sometimes it took far too long. Most times it did. How aggressive do you think this College Sports Commission will be, just your opinion, in that regard when it comes to, hey, this coach is doing that, there was tampering there? How much do you think they want to police this?
I think they do. Again, I think if they have the power of schools signing an agreement that says you're not going to play in the SEC if you don't play by the rules, maybe that helps. But I guess, there's sort of that kind of already existed. Like if you're part of the NCAA, you got to play by the rules. So, I think they're going to try, and maybe it's easier in the sense that you have all these deals being reported to a centralized system, and it's kind of out in the open where everybody can see it, and you can enforce it because, like, all right, you're submitting a contract that says this player is going to make this amount of money from this company. Well, we're not going to approve that contract because we think it's above fair market value. And if you don't agree, then you're not going to be eligible, or you're going to get a penalty or whatever. It just seems like it's set in stone. It seems like it's a little bit transparent. I'm sure there's going to be people try to find their way around it. I mean, I was just thinking this morning, like, what's stopping somebody? I think the $600 is the threshold. So what's stopping somebody from signing $1,000 or 1,000 contracts of $500? Like, there's probably ways around it. I don't know. Like, so yeah, we'll see. I mean, that's kind of the bottom line, is nobody knows exactly how this is all going to work out. But I do think there's a better structure in place. There's a more transparent structure in place. There's a centralized database as opposed to NIL, which nobody knew what everybody else had. That should help the situation. And, schools buy into it and they say, we're going to play by the rules because we think you should play by the rules too. And there's sort of that collegiality to it, then maybe it'll work. But look, there's still a lot of other factors I think that go into it, because they are going to get sued. The first time a player gets a deal denied by this clearinghouse, I'm sure there's going to be a lawsuit behind that. There's going to be lawsuits in general over a $20 million cap, because maybe people think that's collusion and it's an antitrust violation and it's limiting players' pay. So there's a lot of different targets. And I go back to what Danny White, the Tennessee AD, said, like, maybe the only solution to this is collective bargaining and having players be employees and having a union and having agreed upon rules that are bargained between a players union and schools.
Mike Rodak joins us on the Higginbotham Hotline. He is from Bama 247, covers the University of Alabama athletics. So let's talk about Greg Byrne. He gave an interesting interview over the weekend in regards to the House settlement to ESPN. And reading through it, he's been not shy, whether it's been on the Paul Feinbaum show or interview with you, Mike, and others, in regards to there is not Fort Knox underneath Coleman Coliseum. Alabama does have its limits when it comes to money. And of course, this new day and age in college athletics could be a problem at times. But reading that, and that Alabama is operating in a deficit as one of the largest names in college sports, may make people kind of scratch their head a little bit and go, okay, well, this is disturbing. What did you take away from that? And what do you think that means now in the new age of college athletics, if anything?
Right. Yeah. So the last 2 years, they've reported deficits for the athletic department. 2 years ago, they attributed it to some gifts that weren't counted in that year. They were counted the year after. This past year, they attributed it to the coaching change in football and having to pay essentially two staffs. So we'll have to see where they are this year. But I would expect them to trim some staff. I do think that will happen or has happened, where essentially you're working with a smaller athletic department staff in general, and trying to cut costs wherever you can, because that $20 million that you're paying players, doesn't just magically fall from the sky. It's not given to you. You have to find it within your budget. And like you said, if you're already losing money, then you're already trying to dig out of the hole, and now you're adding $20 million on top of that. So, we'll have to see. I do think there's probably a day where you have to seriously consider cutting sports because that's where you're losing money every single year. And Greg Byrne always says it. You lose $40 million from the 19 sports that aren't football and men's basketball every year. So that's where the money is. And there's probably a day when, they need to take a hard look at that. And, to Greg's credit, I don't think he's really made any guarantees or any promises that he's going to keep every single sport. And I think he's been pretty upfront about that. So look, I think there's probably a day when that happens, but I think it's doable in the sense that, again, you make cuts in certain places, and a lot of this money is going to go to football players. And in theory, and for their sake, they're hoping this staff works out and they don't have to pay buyouts or have to pay a new staff and have the same problem they just had with, coaching, the coaching budget line being, extremely high. But we'll see. It's like everything else. We'll have to see how it works out. But I do think it's doable within their budget to pay $20 million a year. But I don't know if that means every sport survives. And obviously, I don't think that means every staff member survives, in terms of the payroll either.
Mike, in terms of cutting other sports, and I know that everybody's going to kind of be reluctant until they start seeing other schools doing it. You don't want that, whatever the sport may be, from a PR standpoint. But can you see the buck being passed on to we, the fans, when it comes to your major revenue generator like college football, where you're trying to uptick in prices, whether it be through concessions or ticket sales or whatever spirit organization group that you have to be a part of to be a season ticket holder? Could you see that buck being passed on to the fans ultimately?
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, at the end of the day, that's not where the biggest money comes from. Biggest money at the end of the day is the TV deals.
Right.
And so that's, every new TV deal that they strike is really what's going to increase the salary cap. And it's periodically going to be recalculated. There's a 4% automatic year-to-year increase, but then they look at, these new TV deals that are coming in and kind of the percentage of the overall revenue. So, yeah, I mean, you can increase ticket prices, you can increase concessions. It's going to be a small piece of the pie. There's a much bigger difference going, from theoretically a $1.5 billion TV deal to a 2.5. That's going to be a bigger difference. So, in general, though, I don't know if this is like the last few years, they've really asked fans for money because that's where it needed to come from. Now it doesn't need to come from fans. It can come from the athletic department itself. And in theory, that alleviates some of the pressure on fans. And there's still going to be the NIL collective. I think they're still asking for money for that, and they'll find whatever autograph signings or interviews or whatever they can do to have that be legitimate, marketing deals that get approved, through their collective. But in general, I think the idea, if I'm a fan, I'm saying it's like the NFL. If I'm a Chiefs fan, I'm not paying Patrick Mahomes' salary by donating money to the Chiefs. Yeah, I go there, I buy a ticket to the game, I buy a $20 beer, I buy a $50 T-shirt, whatever, but I'm not, making a donation to the Kansas City Chiefs for Patrick Mahomes' salary because I know the Chiefs can pay it. And I think the same idea eventually should take root in college football, where I know the team, the school is paying a player. Why should I donate on top of that? And again, if it's not a legitimate marketing deal, then the NIL collective, in theory, with this new structure, can't give that to the player. So I do think over time, fans will actually benefit. But like you said, maybe there's some increases in ticket prices and merchandise, et cetera, to get their revenue up a little bit.
Mike, before we let you go, I want to get your thoughts as we hit the dog days of summer. We are about a month away from SEC football media days in Atlanta, and we'll rehash all this in about 30 days. But I'm just curious, as of this moment, where do you find this Alabama football team in the pecking order with the SEC?
Yeah, I think in terms of the preseason poll, 3 or 4 is where I see them landing.
Okay.
I think obviously Texas and Georgia, I think are pretty solid 1 and 2. I'll be surprised if that's not, the case. And then I think when I was in studio a couple weeks ago, I said, that next tier is probably Alabama, Ole Miss. LSU is another team that I think is really, had a good offseason in terms of their number 1 in our transfer portal rankings. There seems to be kind of some momentum there. Brian Kelly said it's the best roster he's had. Garrett Nussmeier could be a good player. Like I think there's potential there with him. I know people have thrown him out as a number 1 overall pick. So LSU's right there. And then you get into, A&M and Florida and Auburn and whoever else I'm forgetting. Is probably in that next tier. So yeah, I think Alabama probably in the 3 to 4 range. I'd be surprised if it's lower than that. But I'd also be surprised if they are ahead of Georgia or Texas.
Always great stuff from Mike Rodak, covers the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of Bama 247 and 247 Sports, at Mike Rodak there on X. Mike, we always appreciate the time. Thank you. Safe driving out there. You and your family, you getting ready to vacation somewhere? Summertime.
Yeah, we're going back up to.
Are you going to P-Town? You going to P-Town?
He's not going
Not
to
going
P-Town.
to P-Town.
Oh,
We're actually
man,
going to
come
Newport.
on.
Come on,
Newport,
Pat.
Rhode Island.
Would you take Pat to
July
P-Town?
4th.
Just drop him off.
Oh, Conrad's got a T-shirt that says P-Town.
He does.
He wants to go and experience P-Town in its all of its glory.
A lot of culture.
He's been to Jordan Hudson's mom's shop.
He's a
Frequent visitor, Mike. Let's be
Mike,
honest.
did you ever accidentally wander in there when you were up covering all those teams?
I have
in the
never
Northeast?
been to P-Town. I have never been to P-Town, so I've never been to her mom's shop. But
People tell us you would
probably-
remember it if you'd been there.
I'm sure it's famous. I'm sure business is booming for them. So
Wait, a good old guy
that's
like
always a
you
good
that
thing.
went to college there in Providence, Rhode Island. You didn't make it over to P-Town, like for the weekend with your
actually-
boys.
That's a while. No, not with the boys.
No,
That's
where
actually a
did
pretty
you?
long drive.
You saw what I did there, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well played. He returned it over the
Well,
net.
see, Mike has been around me enough in studio. He kind of knows my weird sense of humor. So, yeah, he kind of slapped that back at me. So,
Yes, he did.
That
Point
was
for
good.
Rodak.
Yeah, way to go, Mike. Well, Mike, you and your family have a wonderful summer. We will talk to you in a couple weeks as we get ready for SEC Football Media Days.
Thanks, Mike.
Take care.
You got it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks. Man, he was so close.
Mike Rodak joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You deserve solutions that are built for you. Higginbotham's your one-source solution for insurance, financial, and HR services.
It's Courtesy GMC summer sales event, and the savings are hotter than ever in Trussville. Right now at Courtesy GMC in Trussville, get up to $15,000 off the luxurious Sierra Denali Ultimates, or save up to $11,000 off the rugged AT4X with the largest selection in Birmingham. You're not going to find a better selection of the Sierra Denali Ultimates or the AT4X than right there in Trussville at Courtesy GMC. Plus, they've got over 30 certified pre-owned vehicles on the ground and priced to move today. They've got 9 acres of inventory of brand new GMCs and these certified pre-owned vehicles. Don't wait. Visit them online at courtesybirmingham.com or go by and see them at Courtesy GMC in Trussville, where Alabama saves on brand new GMCs. I got my car serviced on Friday at Courtesy GMC, got new tires put on, got a new oil change, all those things. They can take care of you. So whether your car needs to be serviced, new tires, or an oil change like I did on Friday, go by and see them at Courtesy GMC, courtesybirmingham.com.
Reaction discussion of what Mike Rodak just told us about the House Settlement, how it's going to affect programs like Alabama, others around the SEC. 800-239-WJOX, 205-834-9450. The text line is open. We'll get to those as well. Reaction Monday on Jocks 94.5.
Great conversation with Mike Rodak. If you missed that, you can always download the 3-Man Front podcast. Take us along with you wherever you go, whether it's the beach, whether it's the lake, traveling with your family across the country. You can always download the Jocks 94.5 app and listen and watch the show every single day.
And throughout your summer fun, you can enjoy the great products from our friends at Mystic Beverage, sparkling water infused with various cannabinoids for relaxation and focus. You can find them at your local Piggly Wiggly. They're made in Blount County, Alabama. From the Nirvanic 25 milligram Delta 8, smooth, calming experience, perfect for unwinding. The High Hills Delta 9, available in the 5 and 15 milligram for a balanced and elevated vibe. My personal favorite, and everybody who's tried it has loved it, the Lift Blend. It's got the CBD, the CBG, the Delta 9, but the green coffee bean extract, it's going to give you that boost, both your body and your mind. One of those days where you got a lot going on. Also, the Broadway, the broad spectrum CBD with the Delta 9 for the comprehensive wellness boost. All of these great products available in delicious flavors like the Southern Berry, the Mango, the Watermelon, and the Blood Orange, available locally at your Piggly Wiggly store, the one closest to you. MysticBeverage.com for more information. We appreciate our friends at Mystic Beverage.
Been talking a lot this morning about the House settlement that came down late on Friday night. What does that mean? You had Power 5 commissioners. They held a virtual press conference this morning on Zoom discussing what they're going to do and their conferences are going to do moving forward. We've now had a U.S. Congressman this morning, Michael Baumgartner. He is a freshman Republican out of the state of Washington. He is also the chair of the Congressional College Sports Caucus. He has just issued a statement about the House settlement. The House settlement locks in an unsustainable model that enriches the power conferences at the expense of everyone else, walk-ons, women's teams, Olympic sports. And just like Teddy Roosevelt saved college football in 1905, President Trump can step in to save college sports today. My Restore College Sports Act is the roadmap, with fair revenue sharing, rationalized conferences, and reasonable student compensation. So now you've got one congressman already coming out and offering some type of alternative to the House settlement.
I would love for the people that are generating, the athletic departments that are generating this, is this a share the wealth type approach from him? I just, or is it, hey, you're going to go equal? I mean, we've had a ruling, so I don't know.
And look how long it took to get to that point. Do you mean to see that all of a sudden a freshman Republican congressman from Washington State is going to be able to pass the My Restore College Sports Act?
Man, this is a guy that's just trying to be on a record, just like that guy from Ohio.
Banning the noon kickoffs.
Yeah, banning the noon kickoff. This guy just wants to make a little bit of a splash and tell people that he's passionate about his college sports. Vote for me. That's all it is.
It's a re-election campaign. That's what it is. Laying the foundation.
If nothing else, golly, I hope this is it for a while. I really do.
Yeah.
So doing a little background on this congressman, he also was really good friends with Mike Leach.
Okay.
The former Mississippi State head coach who passed away a couple of years ago. He apparently knew Coach Leach when Leach was the head coach at Washington State.
Okay.
So he wants his Restore College Sports Act to be the roadmap to fair revenue sharing, rationalized conferences, and reasonable student compensation.
Hey, remember when everybody kept blaming the NCAA and going, why did we keep kicking the
can down the road?
The can down the road? This is why they kept kicking the can down the road. The last 4 years are a great example of why they continued to kick the can down the road. Because what seemed like, okay, they're going to pay players. How many other problems, unknowns has that led to in the past 4 years? Lawsuits, not just against the NCAA, against other people. Now everybody wants to play, no limit on eligibility. Where does it stop? I hope it stops now, but it's not going to stop.
It's not going to stop.
It's not going to stop.
Well, and it's just like Mike said. I mean, who's to doubt that somebody out there will be crazy enough to do what he said? And hey, I'm going to give you 1,000 NIL deals worth $599, and you're going to sign each piece of paper, and that's going to be how you get your compensation. There are still going to be loopholes. People are going to find ways to work around it, and there's still going to be lawsuits, unfortunately.
And that's why it's very important that
Some impact get paid, by the way.
Yeah. When this College Sports Commission comes to fruition, it has to have some bite. Has to. Or you're basically doing the exact same thing, you're just renaming it.
Yeah.
The NCAA is now the College Sports Commission, and it has no power, just like the NCAA had no power.
But this College Sports Commission, they don't want to be put in charge of putting together logistics and everything else for championships at other levels or stats or any of this stuff. They have one job. So for all that other stuff that keeps it somewhat organized in other at other levels, it falls under the umbrella of college athletics. Yeah, the NCAA, if for nothing else, will still be around to do all of that nobody else wants to do.
All the grunt work.
All the grunt work.
But all the fame and all the TV money that goes with college football, that's something that this College Sports Commission, that will be the thing that they will be charged with the most.
Because the NCAA goes away in that regard, then you've got martial law declared. Then everything as we know it is upside down.
Well, the good news is that Turner Sports and CBS pays a lot of money to that entity known as the NCAA, so it ain't going nowhere. They will continue to at least run the men's and women's basketball tournament because that's what keeps the lights on.
And you know what? They do a great job of running that tournament.
Yeah,
great job.
No debate whatsoever. We will get to more of your text, your phone calls as well. This is Reaction Monday on Jocks 94.5. It is 11:33, Jocks 94.5. Just read you about one individual from the state of Washington that is wanting to pass something called Restore College Sports Act to combat what the House Settlement came to the conclusion of on Friday. We'll see if that happens. How about a former SEC head coach is now kicking the tires to become a U.S. Senator? And it's not anyone from the state of Alabama.
Former SEC head coach?
Yep, former SEC
What
head
sport?
coach. Football.
Football.
Yep. Guys like to take a guess.
Yes, let's take guesses.
You haven't already seen it, have you, Conrad? You're
No.
really bad at, like, you'll guess something and then you'll come back and go, oh, I saw it. That's why I sounded smart.
Sorry, I do take my notes and
Would you talk like that?
keep up to
Like
date.
you just talked.
No, I wouldn't. Pat, whatever. I'm gonna go Mark Richt.
Mark Richt. You know,
That's
that's an outstanding guess. That's
Yep.
incorrect.
Ain't nothing to hide there, and no skeletons in that closet.
No, that's a good man.
Yep.
He would have been a very good politician, kind of like Tom Osborne. Good man. Can't find anything bad to say about Mark
Please
Richt.
tell me it is not Lester Miles.
It is not Lester Miles.
I don't like calling him Lester. That's weird. I've
It's
never heard.
Coach.
He's a weird guy. Lester
Oh,
fits.
that would be really entertaining.
Over me.
Do you think he would run for office in Louisiana or Florida, where he lives now?
Golly. Let's see here.
I just feel like he would be like Fetterman, and he'd be the guy that would show up in a hoodie and gym shorts every day if
Okay,
Beto was in.
I'm going to read you a quote from this former SEC head coach, but I'm going to omit the state
Okay.
because this coach mentions the state
Yeah, it would
a
give it
couple
away.
times in a statement.
Yeah.
Okay. Blank deserves stronger common sense leadership in the U.S. Senate that represents all blank and focuses on results, not headlines. Who is the former SEC head coach that is looking to run for the U.S. Senate based on that statement that he gave to one of the largest newspapers in the country?
That would be Ron Zook.
Ron Zook, former Florida head coach. That is incorrect.
Phil Fulmer.
Incorrect.
It's not Spurrier.
Incorrect.
Let's keep going.
Blank deserves stronger common sense leadership in the U.S. Senate that represents all blank and focuses on results, not headlines.
Would you be able to guess it based on that quote, Pat?
Let me give you a little bit more from the quote.
I don't know what to make of it.
I believe our state needs a political outsider in Washington, not another career politician, to cut through the noise and partisanship and get back to real problem solving. End of quote.
Derek Dooley.
You are correct.
Am I really? I just threw a random name.
No, Derek.
I don't know why I thought Tennessee after you read that second part. And I was like, who would that be?
Derek Dooley looks like a politician.
Georgia deserves stronger common sense leadership in the U.S. Senate that represents all Georgians and focuses on results, not headlines. Dooley would run as a Republican. He would oppose incumbent Georgia Senator John Ossoff.
That's going to be tough. I've seen that guy's campaigns.
Republicans presently control the U.S. Senate with a 53-47 edge over the Democrats.
Ossoff, he spent a lot of money. I used to have to watch his on the Bally when I was watching the Braves when they still had a franchise.
So Derek Dooley, former head coach of the University of Tennessee Volunteers, and also one of the special assistants to Nick Saban for many years in Tuscaloosa. He is now considering, he gave those quotes to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. But you're right. He's got great hair.
Yeah, he's got really good hair.
Does have
Really
good hair.
good politician here.
Yeah. Okay.
The son of the late Vince Dooley, a legendary former Georgia Bulldogs coach who won a national title with the school. Dooley also helped bring the 1996 Olympics to Atlanta. Derek Dooley has not reached the college football potential as his dad did.
That feels like an unnecessary shot.
Wow.
That
No, that was me.
Oh, okay.
That was me.
No, then that's totally necessary.
That was not the
They're
newspaper.
already,
I thought the
they're already
newspaper-
cutting him up in the AJC.
Yeah, I thought they just added that in there. Yeah, well, he never really amounted to much as a coach, but
He lost 7 fourth-quarter leads in his tenure there on Rocky Top.
it's like, man, that's brutal.
Never beat him. Derek Dooley, that's good.
Yeah, he was a longtime assistant, a personal assistant, or whatever you want to call him in Tuscaloosa. He also was a longtime assistant coach for the Dallas Cowboys. He was an attorney in the wonderful area of Atlanta called Buckhead. We're all familiar with Buckhead.
Oh, yeah.
He exited the profession and launched his coaching career as a graduate assistant coach at Georgia in 1996. So he may be running for U.S. Senate in the state of Georgia.
I was thinking about other former head coaches in the SEC, but they could be current position coach. Well, like, could you imagine Will Muschamp running a campaign? Hey, everybody, this is Will Muschamp.
Just yelling at your screen on the television commercial.
Get in the stands and head to the polls.
Jimbo Fisher, he could be running for Senate somewhere, right?
Oh my gosh!
I mean, you mentioned Ron
You
Zuck.
want to talk about somebody who can stand on that stump and just go for hours,
Mm-hmm.
and you have no idea.
Yeah, if you thought the Lincoln Douglas debates were long,
Like, I don't know what he just said, but I'm voting for him. Good for Derek Dooley.
well, he's looking into it, Landrum.
Yeah, that's what.
Don't
they
put
all
a yard
That's what
sign
they.
out
That's what they all
just
say.
yet.
Derek Dooley. That's yeah. That's hey. I'm gonna have to go home and talk to my wife about this. But if he really wants to do it, I'm gonna do it, and that's what it should be. It should be Derek Dooley. Do it for Georgia.
Well, that you're asking a tough ask to dump a current U.S. sitting senator
Yes.
from the same party.
Mm-hmm. You think shady recruiting was something?
Ooh.
Go and get in that realm.
And Derek always had, just like his dad, always had a very good reputation.
Yeah.
In regards to, not getting in the dirt, in the mud with other folks.
You think he gets Kirby to publicly endorse him?
I don't think Kirby is going to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Mm-mm.
I think Kirby's perfectly happy the way things are being run in the state of Georgia. I don't think he's looking for any type of change in Washington, D.C.
He might give him a little bit of contribution money.
Think so?
Yeah. Here you go, buddy. Get you some T-shirts. Get you some T-shirts out there on the spot. Derek Dooley. That's perfect. It always seems like he's got that power tie, like he just came out of Brooks Brothers when he's dressing in a suit. Yeah.
He's
Good for
got
Derek Dooley.
He's got the wonderful television evangelist hair.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that
So
be the best way
really
to call
good.
it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Really good. Now, does he have a lab or a golden retriever? We need one of those
Yep. We're gonna need one of those
with a bandana.
Do you have a like big game that's stuffed somewhere in your living room?
Oh yeah.
Hey, speaking of that, do a search. We've got a new pet for Meemaw down in Montgomery.
You have an Ivy?
Is it another dog?
Mm-hmm. She just announced it not too long ago. Brand new dog at the governor's mansion.
Oh, Huntley.
There it is.
Oh, that's a pretty dog. That is a pretty dog.
Oh yeah, that's a good old lab right there. Yeah. It's about as big as Meemaw is. Honestly, I mean, it's a big dog for her.
I hope Meemaw's got somebody to walk that dog.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, those dogs walk you.
Yeah, Meemaw might be out of office sooner than later.
Yeah, you might want to call some special. I don't know that. I'm sure comes from a great.
Get her.
It's a beautiful
Or
dog.
Secret Service detail to take care of that dog.
Yeah,
Hey, it's good to see another.
I would totally throw tennis balls to that dog in the governor's mansion pool
Oh,
all day long.
that dog loves to play fetch.
How often do you think Meemaw's in the governor's mansion's pool?
Pat,
She's got a pretty good tan.
Yeah.
She's got a good base tan, kind of like Deborah.
maybe
from
she just puts her feet in. She's busy, man. She got stuff she's doing.
luxuriating.
So look,
She's luxuriating and governing at the same time. That's Meemaw. All right, more three-man front on this Reaction Monday. This is Jocks 94.5. It is Reaction Monday. We love to hear from you each and every day at 1-800-239-WJOX, courtesy GMC text line 205-834-9450. And we're getting plenty of text messages coming in on a myriad of topics. The House Settlement, Birmingham Stallions, are they coming back next year after another successful season? But some people around the country feel like Birmingham could be a target for a relocation. So we're talking about that along with other things going on in the world of sports on this Monday.
Tim texts into the show 205-834-9450 on the Jocks text line. And you said just a variety of different topics. He starts us off with, hey guys, just came out of my first colonoscopy. All good news in 10 years until the next one. I recommend everyone getting screened. The worst part is the prep. Hand over face emoji.
How old are you when you're supposed to get those for the first time?
They've lowered it. It used to be.
How
Was
old are
it
you?
40? I'm 29.
Yeah, you need to get one. No, I think you're.
It used to be 50, and then I think now they say it's 40.
Okay. So I got a decade left.
I need to get one.
You've never had one? You all kidding aside, you need to have
Oh, I
one.
know. That's why I
You
said
need
I
to
need
have
to get
one.
one.
Yes.
I was in New Orleans. Somebody offered me one. I was like, no.
Just like on the street?
Jimmy says, I think a lot of the integrity of the sport is gone, which is a shame, talking about college sports, college football. But I'm the only one who finds it ironic that people deciding the future of the sport, Congress, have no integrity in themselves. Well, that goes for a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, there's some irony there. College World Series talk. Teams like Coastal Carolina, for all their NIL money, and they put it all into baseball and other sports other than football, knowing that they can be more competitive in those sports. Yeah, we talked about that last week, kind of picking and choosing where you're going to load up, and we've already seen that with some of these programs. Not all, but some. This one rolling in from the state of Georgia. Maybe it's Derek Dooley. I'm a daily listener, first time texting, is a lifelong Cubs fan. When we won our championship in 2016, I surely thought with the talent the Cubs have, they would run off 3 or 4 in a row, certainly a repeat. Instead, they got rid of the core of the team. Get ready for the Braves to do the same thing. You won't see it coming. Thank you, Don. Enjoy the show.
Well, it's working out for the Cubs right now. This is the best team they've had since they won the World Series.
So where are you currently? I have not spoken to you over the weekend. Braves have now suffered seven consecutive losses.
7 straight. How many out of the last 20?
That would be 13. Let's see here. They've lost 14 of their last 17.
And the last 5 were all one-run losses.
They're 10 games under 500, their worst record since 2017.
It's comical. Now, I just predict how they're going to lose games to my wife, and we watch to see if it actually happens.
Do I understand this correctly? I did not hear it, but someone told me that Barrett Sallee was extremely upbeat on Friday, claiming that the 11-10 loss on Thursday was the team was heading in the right direction offensively, and they were about to make the turnaround.
Maybe. Yeah.
He
was upbeat. He was upbeat. He was not
laughed at his face.
He was not
when he said that
in Fantasyland. No,
Conrad, did you laugh?
Do that?
Why not?
Because he's our guest. He was nice enough to come on.
But you could say, really, do you really think?
I don't remember him painting that picture. I just remember saying maybe they can get 2 out of 3, which was the hope in every series, and that did not happen.
He was just taking the optimistic side of, all right, the pitching may be a disaster. The bullpen right now was a disaster after you gave up 7 runs in the 9th, but you did score 10 runs. So if you can do that moving forward.
You lose on a wild pitch on Friday. You're up 3-1 yesterday. You lose 4-3. What was the 1-run game on Saturday?
Walk-off home run.
Chapman. No, I have no hope. I'm not delusional.
So if you count Spencer Strider, 8 of the 10 players who started for the Braves yesterday were also on the field to start the game when they clinched the 2023 National League East Championship against the Philadelphia Phillies.
That's it.
So something has to be done with that roster. The ones that are currently on the field.
Yeah.
You need to clean house. This is a World Series caliber roster.
So outside of Ronald, Austin Riley, Drake Baldwin, and Spencer Strider.
I would say everyone
else is available.
Is on the table. Let me hear your offers. Let's go.
Maybe not Schwelly.
No, not Swelly.
Not Schwelly.
So that's 5 guys we just came up with.
So who'd you said Riley?
Austin Riley, Acuna, Drake Baldwin,
Yeah.
Strider,
Yep.
and Schwelly.
Everybody else.
Everyone else
Olsen,
is
Murphy,
available. Yep.
you name it. Everybody is available. Come on.
Yep, I know Albies is on a team-friendly deal, but
You are 10 games under 500. You are 14 games back in the National League East. You are 9.5 games back in the National League wild card.
Awful.
You are not
Awful.
going anywhere. Start trading.
Highlight of the
pieces.
season. You get to host the All-Star game.
That's it.
That's it.
hey, Fangraph still has y'all going over 500.
Stop that.
They do. 82 and 80.
Well, that says a lot about Fangraph. And
I don't know if the eye
that's
test
why we should
factors
never
in.
bring up Fangraph ever again on this show. Have they watched the Braves?
Yeah, exactly.
But again, and I'm not saying you have done it, but there have been people that's used excuses of injuries of why the Braves have performed the way they have. And I just told you that 8 of the 10 players that was in the lineup yesterday was on the field when you beat the Phillies for the National League East
I can
Championship.
count how many times we have had, it hasn't been like, oh man, it's the luck of the draw. We've got guys in scoring position. No, you've had the guys up there that you expect to get it done, and they can't get it done. No, it's not injuries.
I can't remember
Bad baseball team.
if at any point in the history of Major League Baseball that a team has suffered 2 7-game losing streaks and made the playoffs.
No. Maybe it's happened, but no, if you're
I could see 1 7-game losing streak, but multiple?
I don't think there's that many of those delusional Braves fans that are out there. If you are that fan, we'll be nice. I'll be nice, but please call and tell me how the Braves are going to make the playoffs.
So Chris Sale is on the mound tonight, start of a 3-game series against the Brewers. Chris Sale has thrown very well as of late. He is 3-4 with a 2.93 ERA. But it's just like in football. When you watch teams and certain things happen, yeah, it's bad luck. You can, whatever you want to say. But there's a reason why you're losing games the way you're losing them. Just like if you were winning those games, you'd be saying, this is a team of destiny. Like it's gonna happen. But they have shown no signs whatsoever. They worked so hard to get to 500 and above 500, and now you've slipped to 10 games under 500. It's going to take you a good month and a half to potentially get back to 500, and then when you get there, good luck getting a wild card spot.
It's not going to happen. Have you talked to your parents? Have you told them all this?
Oh, they're devastated.
I know they are. You know who I blame? I blame Nike and the vape. The new
the Vapor jerseys?
Yeah, new Vapor jerseys. We like the old ones with the messed up font
the
that you
players
can
are
see
too
through.
comfortable. They're too comfortable.
Exactly right.
It's like they're not even wearing a jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Bring back the wool.
It's like
That's
one of
what y'all need.
those sheer things that you would see in P-Town.
Oh, you mean the tassels?
Huh? We continue 3-man front and get to more of your text. Your phone calls in the 12 o'clock hour as well. Jocks 94.5.
We just heard we're 75 days away from kickoff on August the 23rd. We're just 35 days away from SEC Football Media Days in Atlanta, Georgia. We'll be there wall-to-wall coverage here on Jocks 94.5. The whole crowd will be over in Atlanta, Georgia, as we'll be covering the Southeastern Conference. So much that we'll be getting into between now and July 14th there in the wonderful city of Atlanta. Talked a lot this morning about the House Settlement that came down on Friday. What does that mean moving forward? Also, the Stallions, they lose in the USFL Conference Championship game, so they will not be in the championship game. Kind of odd that we will not be watching the Stallions play for a world title.
Yeah, it stinks. Great run, but yesterday the better team won, on the field at least.
Now, I did have some text messages, and I'll be the first to admit that I did not hear the Skip Holtz postgame press conference, but someone told me that he insinuated that he may not be back next year in the UFL. Someone heard that, or?
Haven't heard that.
I would hate that Skip Holtz is not the head coach of the Stallions next year.
Maybe he wants to get back in the college game.
Maybe that now that the House Settlement is taken care of, maybe he's like, maybe there's some...
I know his name was in the mix. We saw it on a few hot boards this past cycle. But wonderful individual, and if he never coaches another game in Birmingham or in the UFL, then I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to get to know him.
First-class individual.
Yep.
There's no doubt about it. And for him to spend every week with us over, the last 3 years?
Yeah.
Been coming on the show and answered the tough questions and been very forthright in the team and the league. We had some great conversations with him off the air about the UFL.
I think I figured out where that was coming from. So apparently there were multiple times during the post-game press conference where he said it's been a hell of a ride in Birmingham. So I think maybe some people were drawing from that maybe he was insinuating that, like, it's been a heck of a ride, now I'm done. But it could also just mean it's been a heck of a ride because it has been. He's coming back.
Yeah.
So I would hope it's
that
the
seems
latter.
to be where people are drawing those assumptions.
Yeah, I would hope that it's just the fact that, hey, Birmingham, we won 3 in a row, and it was a great run. Now let's start another one.
I was about to say, now you got a fire under you if your team come back next year and prove everyone wrong.
Well, if you're a homeowner, these storms, they keep reminding you that you need to make sure that everything is okay on top of your house, on your roof. That's where Abide Roofing comes in. You need to call them today at 205-922-7134. So listen, if you notice some leaking from the weekend's heavy rains, Abide Roofing can get to your house and they can help you as soon as possible. Go to abideroof.com or call Travis Lloyd and his outstanding local team, 205-922-7134. That is the number. They give you a free roof inspection by just calling them and let them come to your house. There's no strings attached. There's no pressure. They can make sure that every shingle is in place. You've got no leaking in your attic, which then, of course, is going to cause leaking into your house or your sheetrock. So call Travis Lloyd at Abide Roofing today, 205-922-7134, or visit their website at abideroof.com.
We'll get to some more of your texts on the text line, 205-834-9450. And we had some guesses coming in, former coach in the SEC that could be seeking political office. Derek Dooley was the answer, but Terry Bowden was one of the names that was thrown into the mix. I could see that. Most of these coaches, you could see a political future. Now, there's some, like Coach O, that would be entertaining. Sam Pittman.
Oh, he would be a heck of a politician.
To me, he's more of a governor, not a senator,
Yeah.
I'd vote for him. I'd buy a residency in Arkansas just to vote for the man. Mike Leach would have been a heck of a politician if he ever wanted to be.
Yes. Josh asked, did Coach O finally run out of buyout money? And is he potentially trying out politics? No, not yet. He might run for the mayor of South Beach. Is he still down there? Keeping tabs on him?
I have not.
Posey's guess was Coach Fran. Mike says, how great would it be to see Muschamp and Coach O have a moderated debate for first Senate seat.
Yeah,
Or
that
just a
would be-
headbutting contest.
That'd be interesting.
Last
At least
candidate
Muschamp
standing.
would be easier to understand.
Yeah.
That would be awesome, though.
Oh, what in the world is getting sent here? Oh, my goodness. Conrad, on your colonoscopy, my colonoscopy, it's the age of 50 unless there's high risk factors, according to.
Oh, is that like a family medical history thing you need to know?
We were asking about the age. We didn't know. So hopefully I've got a few more years left and you have a lot of time.
I got 20, yeah.
Yeah. Bobby says, get the Jell-O shots ready. Gomaha is back. Geaux. Road to another natty and a new Jell-O shot record for LSU starts now.
Well, you would have to buy 68,889 Jell-O shots.
Are we really going to have
break
to
the
endure
record.
that again? Like every year? Listen, I mean, that to me, that is just a boring stat that just
It is.
it just gets way overdone every year.
Well, now
Just
you
the
can,
competition as a whole?
Yes.
well, now they have a deal where you can do it mobily. You can buy them online.
Just come on.
Well, and that's like last year. You had the Raising Cane's guy that went in there and bought them all or 2 years ago, bought them all for LSU, and that's how they broke the record.
I mean,
Well, yeah, you got a multi-millionaire. Yeah, it probably does help.
Tommy and Trustful. Pat's friend.
hey, Tommy.
How did doctor tell me I have to have an endoscopy and an in your endoscopy at the same time?
I did. I had both.
They assured me that they use different tools for each.
I hope they did.
Or if you didn't, just don't tell me. Are
I
you
said-
asleep for it?
Absolutely.
Okay, I would hope so.
I was like, hey, if I need both done, let's knock them both out at one time. That's what they did.
Everyone said when Acuna and Strider got back, things would be different. They sure have been. Can't win a game. Yep.
Hey, yesterday was Strider's best outing of the season.
Still gave up 3 runs. Still winless.
See, I'm being the good cop. Pat's being the bad cop.
No,
That's
I'm just
so-
stating fact.
I know.
I'm not.
I
Look,
know.
I will tell you if you're trying to do it for my benefit, not you, but anyone, I'm past that point. I was numb to it last week. I'm numb to it now. Now I'm just predicting crazy ways that they can lose games.
Now, can they go on an incredible run and get back in it? Sure they can.
I can just go on an incredible run. I don't know if you get back in it. I guess technically you're back in it, but
You would just need a lot of teams in front of you to have historically bad results for a lengthy period of time.
Well, and that's like you talked about. I mean, you could go on a 10-game winning streak if you're the Braves and pick up 2 games in the standings, right?
You could spend the whole month of June trying to get yourself in a position to get to 500 because everyone will tell you that until you get to 500, it is pointless to even think about anything. I just think that the Braves have so many really good trade options, and let's face it, the Atlanta Braves farm system is not anywhere in the top half of Major League Baseball.
no.
They need to do something to help their younger system out. So trade away, man. Get rid of some of these dudes. You hold on to them too long, you won't get anything for them.
I was about to say I can't complain about that because the Yankees are playing good baseball, but they're
They're
like number one offender of that in the last 5 years. They
When
hold on
does
to
this
guys
start
for way too long.
affecting ticket sales there at Truist?
After the All-Star game.
Yeah.
I mean, people have their
That's
summer.
my prediction.
I mean, people have their summers vacations planned.
Hey.
And that goes for most all. I mean, the Rockies drew like 38,000 this weekend. Okay, and they got swept by the Mets. Now,
You know
of
what?
course, there's probably a reason. A lot of New York fans that were in attendance in Colorado, but people are going to go to the ball games.
It's all about the experience, man, and the way that they built these ballparks, especially at a place like Truist, which I think is just – I haven't been to every Major League park, but from the retail that you have outside, the battery, the convenience, the area, all of that, it's got to be one of the top in baseball.
Oh,
And
it's
I'd still
incredible.
go.
Yeah.
We go to the launching pad in Fulton County when they were terrible and had a great time.
Yeah, on decent weather, you go out there, buy a cheap ticket, go have some drinks with your friends, and go and hang out at a ball game. Like, you're going to do that,
Yeah,
even if it's not great baseball. Yeah,
that's right.
they'll be fine.
Season is lost, though.
Oh, yeah, the season's lost, but attendance should be okay.
until the All-Star game.
205-834-9450.
Speaking of the baseball, the SEC got 13 teams in the NCAA tournament field, and unfortunately only 2 made it to Omaha, LSU and Arkansas. You had Coastal beating Auburn. You had Arizona shocking North Carolina over the weekend after Friday.
Did
I was
not
like,
see that one
You
coming.
get beat 18-2 in Chapel Hill in the first game, and you come back and you win 2.
mm-hmm.
And the stat was you win game 1, 79% of those teams in super regionals, they advance.
And I'm sure it's a higher number if you win that game at home.
If you
and
lose,
by double-digit runs.
you lose that game by 2
By
touchdowns
16
and 2
runs.
2-point conversions.
Yeah. LSU beat West Virginia. Arkansas swept Tennessee. Louisville defeated Miami. Oregon State beat Florida State.
Yep.
Man, that was tough for Florida
Oh,
State.
Florida State had that one in the bag on
They
Friday.
sure did. UTSA played UCLA good in game 1, but they got swept by the Bruins. And so tonight at 6 o'clock, you've got Duke and Murray State. That will be the final team that will, can you believe it, Murray State?
I want to see Murray
It's
State
wild.
do it.
It'd be awesome.
So as of right now, you've got 2 SEC, 1 Sun Belt, 1 ACC, 1 Pac-12, 1 Big 10, 1 Big 12, and the ACC potentially could get another if
Parody.
Duke wins. So
And if I'm not mistaken, I think LSU and Arkansas, that's the first matchup, or they have to play each other first in Omaha.
yeah.
So it's like,
That
man,
stinks.
they're really trying to get rid of the SEC, aren't they?
So as of the Vegas perspective, the Arkansas Razorbacks have the best odds of winning the national championship at plus 175. LSU comes in at number 2 at plus 250. The team that beat Auburn, Coastal Carolina, has the next best odds
Wow.
to win the national championship at plus 625. Oregon State. Now, would that not be something if Oregon State or Coastal Carolina won the national championship?
Yeah.
Both of those coming from smaller conferences. Basically, Oregon State really not even having a conference right now. UCLA is next at plus 1,000. The Wildcats at plus 1,200. Louisville plus 1,600. Duke is right now currently at plus 2,000. And Murray State plus 7,500 to win the national championship.
LSU and Coastal could meet in the championship series, right?
That would be an awesome series.
That's my prediction. I think those are the 2 teams we get. Arkansas, I would hope that it would happen because of the heartbreak that happened a few years ago when they had one in the bag and they
I
dropped
want
the
it
foul
for tie. Yeah.
Would love it for tie, but it's not going to happen.
No, it doesn't feel like it would. LSU Coastal, that's a good prediction, though. And I think a lot, and again, this doesn't make you feel better if you're an Auburn fan, but I think there's probably a lot of them out there that forgot. Like, Coastal won the College World Series 9 years ago. This is a good baseball program, historically. Like,
23
they've had
straight.
success.
23 straight wins, 53 wins overall. And they got dudes that can rake.
Yeah,
Hit
they
for
won
power at opportune times.
Yep.
They won it back in 2016. So this is their second ever trip to Omaha. So it'll be interesting to see. Auburn finished up a great season. They were 41-20. So, and they've already done a lot of work this weekend in the portal.
You get a pitcher from Virginia Tech, right? You get a pitcher from Michigan State.
And someone from Western Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's
Yeah,
right.
as a pitcher.
Yeah.
And then you got the
third
guy from
baseman-
UAB.
Third baseman from UAB.
Yeah.
So, yep. So,
Wonder what those deals look like.
I'm sure they're under $600.
$599.
just
1,000 of them.
yeah, I was going to say about
Here's a duffel bag full of them. Just start
16
signing
of those deals. Yeah, that's what they got to do now. When we come back on three-man front, if you saw the dust-up over the weekend between Simone Biles, one of the greatest gymnasts of all time, and an individual that has been campaigning against men and women's sports, we'll tell you what that's all about and what one USA Today columnist is using so-called scientific fact to go against Miss Gaines. We'll tell you about that next. It's 12:18, Jocks 94.5 on this Reaction Monday, 1-800-239-WJOX. That is the phone number, the courtesy GMC text line, 205-834-9450. Many of our listeners are very familiar with Riley Gaines, the former swimmer who has now turned into a spokesperson, basically, for the anti-men playing in women's sports. She was in the Oval Office when President Trump signed his presidential executive order in regards to that. So over the weekend, Simone Biles, one of the greatest American gymnasts of all time, she goes on social media and she says the following to Riley Gaines. She says, "You're truly sick. All of this campaigning because you lost a race, straight up sore loser. You should have been uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports." So needless to say, that got a lot of people talking in the business. And so a USA Today columnist by the name of Nancy Armour, she wrote an opinion piece on USA Today's website, and it says, Simone Biles shows her greatness again in standing up for transgender community. Now, in this article, she kind of takes her pot shots at Riley Gaines, talking about her being a MAGA supporter. But there's one particular thing in here that kind of got me wondering where she's coming from. This is directly from the USA Today piece. There is no scientific evidence that transgender women athletes have a physical advantage over cisgender women athletes, but that hasn't stopped Gaines from claiming they do. She insists they are robbing cisgender women of places on the podium, and she doesn't care if it's a 12 or 22-year-old that she's putting in harm's way in the overheated climate where ignorance and violence are celebrated equally. She says Gaines has publicly lobbied for Biles and Caitlin Clark to support her in her hate, which again is a laughable idea to anyone who has followed Biles's illustrious career. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Conrad, but didn't Simone Biles, didn't she have a completely different take on this situation a couple of years ago?
Oh, I'm glad you asked, Pat. Yes, back in 2017, which was pretty early on in her career, she kind of got, I guess, her big breakthrough was the 2016 Summer Olympics. So This was a year after that. And she had a post on Twitter that has now been resurfaced, and it said, good thing guys don't compete against girls or he'd take all the gold medals. Talking about another male athlete, obviously.
Interesting.
So what would have changed in the last 7.5 years that would make you do a complete 180 on that stance?
That is very interesting. Simone Biles also on social media was talking about Riley Gaines is bullying transgenders. I don't know, just kind of a bizarre attack, in my opinion.
And then Simone Biles decided to attack Riley Gaines and call her out and shame her for her looks or for being too muscular or too... It's like, have you seen a picture of Simone Biles? She's literally a muscle. That's her entire body.
The picture of her and Shaq standing side by side. I don't know.
Well, her sponsors are happy, and obviously that's what she cares about the most right now. Because I just find it hard to believe that otherwise you would have this stance.
There is no scientific evidence that transgender women athletes have a physical advantage over cisgender women athletes, according to this reporter from USA Today. None? Well, if that's the case, then let's just, why have a men's classification and women's classification?
Just let men play all the sports then. If you're fine with them taking over, there's no difference.
No, is she coming from the standpoint where, yes, if we went and if I tried to go and play basketball, no, Caitlin Clark's going to be better than me. So, yeah, in that instance, the the female would be better than I don't know where she's coming from. And quite frankly, I really don't care. Sorry, Simone.
And this is the same Simone Biles that everybody was having special telethons for when we thought that, when she couldn't mentally get onto the floor, right? To do her routine in the Olympics.
Yeah, it
Remember
seems
that?
right. Yep.
How we were all.
Do we not remember a few years ago when Serena Williams came out and said, yeah, we can't compete against men in tennis. It's a completely different game. Like, she's the best women's tennis player in the world, and she's standing there acknowledging, I couldn't compete against the men.
How is Riley Gaines bullying young people?
She's not. She's standing up for young girls everywhere that want to be athletes.
That's kind of what I thought.
That's what I thought. Go and look at some of the times in some of these events where the state record had been this at a certain point, and then you get someone who's coming in that was born one sex and then is identifying or biologically or whatever, and they go and compete. Look at some of the numbers; it's staggering. But you're right; you're taking opportunities away from women.
Well, one thing's for sure, you can tell real quick where Nancy Armour fits in regards to her political leanings. Not that you needed me to read you the following, but she says, Gaines has used her tie for 5th place with Leah Thomas, a transgender woman, in the 200-yard freestyle at the 2022 NCAA championships to become a MAGA media darling. But her grifting has done real harm to the transgender community, which is already at an elevated risk for suicide and self-harm. So Riley Gaines
is causing it.
Yeah, so she's now the reason for this?
She's the reason.
I mean, my thing for Simone Biles is, okay, go in front of a room of young girls who want to be gymnast one day. They want to be an Olympic athlete. And you go and you look them in their eyes and you say, hey, there might not be a spot for you one day because men are going to come over and take your spot. And that's okay. That's a good thing. Try to convince them that that's a good thing. That's the way that things should be. Isn't
it easier, though, for some of these people, not just women, but men, when you're the best in your sport or one of the best that's ever done it? Isn't it easy to say, you know what? Yeah, that's no.
It's also easier when you're on the tail end of your career. Not saying she's not going to keep competing, but Megan Rapinoe said the same thing. Guess what? When she was done playing for the women's national soccer team, because at that point it didn't matter to her anymore because it didn't impact her because she got her opportunity and now doesn't matter if other people don't get their opportunity.
So where do you think this is coming from? She on the take from an organization or does she have some?
No, I think she really believes this. I mean, if you go back and you look at the history of what Nancy Armour has written about in her career, this should not come into a shock.
No. I'm talking about Simone Biles.
Oh, no, I have no idea.
What's changed in the last 7 years?
No, I have no idea.
Money.
Some of her sponsors.
Seriously, like what else would make you
do a 180?
This is from a PR standpoint, like that's career suicide. Like from what she posted on there and the backlash that she got from that.
Especially
you see how many professional athletes were going at her this weekend?
Not to mention the fact that her attacking the way Riley Gaines looks.
Oh, I know. That's what I was saying earlier.
That was really. Now, Nancy Armour goes on to say that Gaines has inserted herself into the conversation about the Class 4A softball championship in Minnesota, claiming Champlin Park had hijacked the title because its star pitcher is a transgender young woman. This is Nancy Armour writing this. Never mind that there are 9 players on a softball team in Champlin Park won the title game 6-0.
Didn't she throw? Didn't he, she, whatever? Didn't they? Didn't they throw like back-to-back shutouts and a no-hitter in that?
It's almost like if you have one player that's way better than everyone else at that age, you're going to win.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Armour goes on to write, or that her teammates love having her out there. She's a great kid and a great teammate, end of quote.
Yeah, I would love to have a kid out there that was going to guarantee we won every game.
Says Gaines has never let facts get in her way.
We really sucked until this season.
Yeah.
So she posted 3 times about it in a 2-hour span, made sure to mention the name of the transgender athlete as well, while purposely misgendering her.
Somebody asked a question on the text line, why isn't there a biological female in men's sports?
It's a great question.
Yes.
Well, there was. The Kicker.
But according to Nancy Armour, this story that I just referred to is why Simone Biles decided to come out and say what she did. Because it says that was enough for Biles, that high school junior in Minnesota and all the other transgender women Gaines demonizes might not have platforms large enough to counter her vitriol, but Biles does. And she was happy to put it to good use. So Biles is trying to protect the Champlain Park Class 4A softball champions. And she's willing to go on social media and do what she did.
Yeah, and let's look past the fact that we're talking about a child, and this is a completely different discussion, but we are talking about a child that is dealing with this and going through this.
Mm-hmm.
A child whose parents are allowing them to do this.
Right. Nobody ever goes and talks to the parents whose child was not afforded an opportunity or had a roster spot taken.
Correct.
That's not the sexy part of the story. No, let's go this other angle.
So Riley Gaines, she tried to take the high road on social media. She said, this is actually so disappointing. It's not my job or the job of any women to figure out how to include men in our spaces. You can uplift men stealing championships in women's sports with your platform, talking to Simone Biles. Men don't belong in women's sports, and I say that with a full chest.
I mean, this is, am I crazy? This is like the least controversial take I've ever heard on anything.
I completely agree. That's why I'm very curious. And even if you look at the percentage of people that are being affected by this, and you know what I'm talking about, why this is such a national outcry.
Totally different deal, but what if we just decided we wanted to play 8-year-old rec basketball and play in a league?
Well, depending on what part of the country you live in, you probably will get that opportunity to. If you're in Minnesota or
Identify as
California,
a
you
child.
probably would.
Can we design the trophy? I want a good one.
Yeah. Raise that goal to 10 feet.
I want to feel good about my accomplishments.
The text line is exploding as we figured it would.
Yes.
205-834-9450. This is Reaction Monday, Jocks 94.5.
12:34, 3-man front. I never got to see Shania in concert. I'd pay to see that show. She's still touring, Conrad?
Oh, yeah. She's all over the place.
She's my favorite Canadian-born country music singer.
Are there a lot to choose from?
Of country music?
Yeah.
Not that I know of, no.
She is great, though.
No, Celine Dion. She's there on
Well,
there.
yeah, but not country. Yeah.
No.
Justin Bieber.
I would say Rushmore,
Drake.
but they're born in Canada.
Yeah.
It's very close to where Rushmore is, but not so much. 205-834-9450. The text line is open, and a lot of reaction to Simone Biles and what she had to say about Riley Gaines and a myriad of other things surrounding the subject.
Yeah, that is correct. So 205,
Congratulations.
Yeah, 205-834-9450 if you want to get on the courtesy GMC text line. Jamie chimes in. Was a fan of Simone Biles, not anymore. Wow, people are selling their soul for money. I will never watch anything else she participates in ever.
She's retired now, right?
I can't remember if this last Olympics was it for her. Maybe she's going to try to do one more. But she's on the tail end of.
Or is she on like, I know she did Dancing with the Stars at some point. She's on like maybe a retirement community tour where she goes and kind of like the Ice Capades used to be.
She has said that.
You remember that, right? Like if you were like an Olympic star, really the only other thing you had left to do is go like be on the Ice Capades where you would travel the country.
She could do like Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has said that she is leaving it open to competing in 2028.
Now, she's still married to the NFL player?
Yeah, the Packers defensive back.
Maybe we can get her in Birmingham for the World of Wheels next year.
Maybe she ought to go out for the NFL. Maybe Simone Biles could be like a place kicker or a
slot.
Yeah.
Oh, there were a number of jokes made about that over the weekend.
Wait, about her husband or about her playing a position in football?
Just about, her people calling out, okay, so, how does your husband feel about this? Does he agree with, your sentiments on this? And
my husband doesn't have an opinion. Yeah. Next.
Thank you. Okay, Andrew chimes in. He says, why not make a separate league so you'd have a male league, a female league, and then a trans league if that's what they want. And that's kind of what Riley Gaines was going on about Simone Biles about is, okay, well, you have a big platform. Why don't you try to spearhead this?
Or why don't Simone Biles take some of her $1 million winnings and put towards that?
There you go. Let's see. Somebody chimes in. They say there's a great deal of context missing here. Riley Gaines has rallied against more than just transgender rights in sports. She's for the outright eradication of trans people entirely. Unfortunately, it keeps getting framed this way with sports because it's the easiest way to make people mad.
So eradicating all trans people, is that what in sport, or just wipe them off the face of the earth?
Well,
is
based
that
on that text, the
text
text is insinuating that yes, it's not. This is bigger than sports.
I don't know if I've ever heard her say that.
I have not.
That's why I was surprised by the comment.
I have not either. Let's see. Someone chimes in. Why isn't there a biological female in men's sports? Because she wouldn't be able to compete. Can you really be, and they add, can you really be a true feminist if you're for biological males participating in female sports? Michael chimes in with, people who think men belong in women's sports are too stupid to talk to. There are women in men's sports. We call them kickers at Vanderbilt.
She did kick at Vandy.
She did. Let's see. Jody chimes in. Okay. Wow. Never mind, Jody. I did read your text, though. Can't read that. Let's see. Posey says, well, technically, they may have not done scientific studies to say that men competing in women's sports is unfair because it's a waste of money. Anyone can clearly see that with their own eyes. I would say that's a fair point. Let's see. Yep, Corey chimes in. Where are all the women trying to play male sports? Why is it only one-sided? Let's see.
Have you ever wanted to play a women's sport? Have you ever wanted to do anything that, whether it's the LPGA, the WNBA, the new softball league that's just come out, have you had any inkling whatsoever to be a participant in that?
No.
Okay.
Let's see. Someone chimes in. Simone Biles' husband now plays for the Giants. Okay.
At a younger age, I would have thought co-ed wrestling would have been cool.
Sure. Who wouldn't?
Jimmy chimes in. Why does anyone care what millionaire celebrities think? I pay my bills and then I'll care. Otherwise, people, please think for yourselves. I think that's generally good advice. CJ chimes in. All I can say is my Lord and Savior decides what gender you are when you enter this world, and that is not meant to be changed.
Amen. He does.
Let's see. How would Simone Biles have felt if males competed against her? Well, based on a comment she made years ago, she wouldn't have liked it because she acknowledged they would have won the gold medals. Gavin chimes in. What would happen if LeBron played in the WNBA? Well, for one, y'all would finally acknowledge he was the greatest of all time.
This is totally separate, but I do want to ask this question because I don't know the answer. Is it anatomically possible for a man to do the splits?
I mean, I'm sure some can.
Can they, Molly?
Okay.
That seems incredibly painful. Not going to try it. Let's see.
That's your next challenge.
Someone chimes in and said, I had aspirations of being a glow wrestler.
Glorious ladies of wrestling.
Thank you. Andrew cannot read that one, but that is entertaining. Are you looking at that one? It's entertaining. Let's see. All it's going to take for this trend to end is a 6'6" transgender woman who dominates women's basketball once and for all. Let's see. If there were other leagues besides men's and women's leagues formed for trans athletes only, then it would just be another men's league. Weak and disturbed men, but a men's league. Let's see. Danny says, start a transgender sports league, then see who gets more views, the TGL or the WNBA without Caitlin Clark.
Oh, so there's a league now. TGL, is that what they're calling it?
That's the Tiger League.
The Tiger.
Oh.
They're saying, would that get more views than the WNBA without Caitlin Clark? Because
Gotcha.
That's why their ratings have been so good the last year and a half or so. Jerry from Hayden chimes in. That's the only way LeBron would ever be the GOAT. Thank you. And then Carson says, y'all need a burner account on Twitter that y'all can post the unread text to so we can all see them without y'all getting in trouble. Maybe we should make a scrapbook one day. We'll just take a bunch of screenshots and put them all together.
I've got a collection. I actually made an album on my phone. I just screenshot some of the calls we get. A lot of them during football season.
Many of them
can't read.
Yes. And just like today, fantastic text. Very entertaining. Can't read them all, though.
We will continue to read your text messages, take your phone calls, and this water has caused all sorts of damage if you're a homeowner. Water can find its way into that crawl space of your home, bringing dangerous mold, mildew, and wood rot. But APS can help you today. Call them at 205-951-9717. It can protect your home's foundation, provide valuable storage space by properly encapsulating your crawl space. Keep pests out, lowers your energy costs. So call APS today, 205-951-9717. Been around since 1977, locally owned and operated. They're able to help you right now at 951-9717 or go to their website, alabamaprofessional.com.
We will get to your phone calls. Josh, you want to weigh in? We'll get to you. 800-239-WJOX. It is three-man front here on this Reaction Monday on Jocks 94.5.
1247, Jocks 94.5. Welcome back in. This is Reaction Monday, Jocks 94.5. We've been talking about Simone Biles over the weekend, her interesting comments towards Riley Gaines. We read to you a couple of snippets from a USA Today columnist opinion piece in regards to the dust-up between the two. Also today, Auburn football, a little bit of good news. They got a 3-star running back commitment a little bit earlier, and they have just flipped a 4-star defensive back for the 2027 class. He was originally committed to Florida State University. This is Jalen Scott.
Dave.
So FSU Dave is still upset over his Oregon State Beavers beating his team. And then now he just lost a commitment for 2027 to Auburn.
Now, is Dave going to tell us tomorrow at Social Taco they didn't really want him?
That's probably what he's going to tell us.
They didn't want him. We got too many of those DBs.
I'm sure Don's already sent him a text message with Jalen Scott's measurables. That's the individual that just flipped.
He's banking on Earl Little getting that COVID year still, and so they're not going to need him for a couple years. They're good to go.
Oh, we get to your phone calls. Do want to remind you about the cottages at Smith Lake. Your chance to own a dream home at the lake. It's here Saturday, June the 21st, the grand opening of the cottages at Smith Lake, located on one of America's cleanest, most pristine lakes, and it's convenient drive from Birmingham and the metro. The cottages at Smith Lake is the area's first and only tiny home community. So when you talk about upkeep, keeping that small footprint, but being at a beautiful lake. And I owned a place at Smith Lake for years. Wish I still had it, but it's a great getaway. If you don't want to make that trek down to the beach and you want somewhere convenient, you go to and from, and it's a great time with your family and friends. You can do it. But 50 acres of woodlands there on the peaceful, quiet west side of Smith Lake, surrounded by Bankhead National Forest. You got over 120 home sites to choose from, beautiful lake views, and your choice of custom cottages from 6 unique models. Here's what you need to know. It's the opening day at the cottages at Smith Lake, Saturday, June 21st. Reserve your spot now. For more info, you can call 256-747-7459. That's 256-747-7459. The cottages at smithlake.com for more information.
We're just talking a lot about women's sports. Over the weekend, the Longhorns beat Texas Tech on Friday for the Women's College World Series Championship. Their win was their second national championship of the year for the Texas Athletic Department. Softball joins the men's swimmers and divers for the national championship. It was also the University of Texas's 68th all-time national championship.
And they're first in softball.
Across all sports. How about that? 68th all time for the University of Texas. Welcome to the SEC.
They were overdue, though, to be honest. They were runners-up 2 of the last 3 years, and now they don't have to play Oklahoma, and look what happens.
Texas is back.
Get a title of your own.
In all sports.
They've been too good. So, they've been too good.
Yeah.
Just overall.
People wanting to weigh in on the phone lines. We open them up. Reaction to Simone Biles and what she had to say about Riley Gaines and other things. First, let's go to Josh. He has been patiently waiting. Hey, Josh.
Hey, okay, so you guys, I think, are all on the same page on this one, and I don't want y'all to gang up on me, so let me just give me a minute. Simone, she was, 17 years old when she made that tweet about the guys and the girls not competing together?
I don't know.
Conrad,
right?
Do you have that handy?
Let me see.
I don't remember the tweet.
It was 8 years ago. She was 20.
So the point I'm trying to make is people can evolve and change their opinions, even on something as big as that. It's not necessarily just because of sponsorships. Life experiences, education, people can change on that. Another thing is y'all keep talking about how males, how they would dominate in female sports. But how often do males actually do that? Like, would any of you guys actually, because you just wanted to dominate, would you decide to start taking
no,
hormone therapy? People don't do that for competitive advantage. They do it because they truly believe they are what they believe they are, not for the competitive advantage that they might get. Now, I get it. Some of them might have a competitive advantage, depending on what sport, but these people truly believe it. They're not doing it just because they want a competitive advantage. And there are actually people that are born male that do compete, or excuse me, born female that do compete with the males, oftentimes you don't hear about it because, yeah, they're not going to be as good. But they do at the high school level sometimes. They're not, of course, they're not going on to college to compete. But that actually goes against the narrative of competing for a competitive advantage, because it's actually a disadvantage for them, but they still do it. You're only going to hear about the male to female transitions because people feel like it gives them an advantage, but you don't hear about the other side of it because it doesn't give them an advantage, but that also happens too.
Okay.
Would you agree?
What was the last part of that you just said?
That people that are born female do transition and compete as males in high school athletics and even in little league, but you don't hear about that because that doesn't fit the narrative of people transitioning for competitive advantage.
Yeah, but I think it's also tough, Josh. And look, I respect your points and your opinions on this, but I think it's hard to speak for everyone and what their motives were.
I agree, but at the same time, you guys are sitting there saying automatically that Simone is automatically doing this because it's for financial gain. If anything, she's going to divide people on this matter, and it actually might lead to less money for her. And she might actually truly believe. I mean, how many transgender athletes are actually in college sports, for example? It's so rare.
Yeah, it's very minute, and that's why I'm very curious why Simone Biles would risk everything that she has in front of her. Now, we let you talk, so let me talk for a second, because we've been very kind to allow you to espouse your opinion here on this program. So my point being is why Simone Biles is doing it now in regards to when she should have done it on the platform when she was in one of her countless Olympics. Why is it so important now? And why go after, she's attacking someone for what they believe, and now she's attacking them for the way that she looks in regards to Riley Gaines. It was just very odd for someone as buttoned up as Simone Biles to do what she did over the weekend.
Well, I will agree with you. I don't know anything about, other than what you guys said about how Riley Gaines looks. If she said that, yeah, that's not right. But on the other side of that, I don't think you should put a restriction. She's not. Is she fully retired? She might still compete in gymnastics again, but she's also a woman now, as opposed to literally a child or almost a child in 2016. And maybe she's found her voice. Not to mention, this has become a hot issue these days, and maybe as she's gotten older and she's come across people that are different from her, maybe she has a different perspective now, and it's not just because of financial gain or just because she's trying to make sponsors happy. Maybe she's actually putting her neck out there because she truly feels like these people are being persecuted against. And yes, it's complicated. When you let somebody that was born a male compete with females, then that's a complicated situation, and for sure sometimes there can be advantages there. But it's not like you have people that are born male say, I'm going to be a female and I'm going to compete with females just so I can have the competitive advantage. If that was the case, the WNBA would be full of people that were born males, and they would just be doing it just because they want the financial gain from dominating. But they don't do that. These people truly feel like they are what they believe they are, and that's why they're trying to compete with the sex they identify with or the gender. And they even do it. No one's going to blow back at them, and people are going to hate them for doing it, but they do it anyway.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate the phone call. Hour number 4. 3-man front, the 1 o'clock hour. Tony, hang on. We'll get to you as well.
It is the fourth hour of three-man front, Jocks 94.5. Welcome back into the program. It is Reaction Monday. Great bit of time today talking about the House Settlement, also the Stallions losing, unfortunately, to the Michigan Panthers. Michigan will now play DC Defenders in St. Louis for the UFL Championship. And Molly, today, our poll question had to do with the potential future of the Birmingham Stallions.
Yeah, do you believe the Stallions will be back for another season in Birmingham? Simple yes or no question. And yes is still winning, and it has been winning all day with about 59.4%. No, saying the team will be relocated with 40.6%.
How about that? It's good to see that the community is behind our Stallions. And as I went on a little diatribe earlier today, the ratings came in for the regular season, and Birmingham was the #1 market in the United States watching the UFL. So
Bring it back. Giddy up.
not really sure if that would be in the best plans for the league to move out of Birmingham, Alabama. But hey,
How much of the championship game will you guys watch?
Have it on the background.
likewise. Yeah, I don't know
If you had to pick a team to choose
Michigan.
to pull for, Michigan.
Yeah, you always want to lose to the best team.
yeah, not to mention the fact that the DC Defenders coach
Try to fight our coach.
Yeah, he
start
tried
the
to
season.
go after Skip Holtz.
Well, and that podcast guy.
And
That's
the
true. I
Yeah,
forgot about him.
more so the podcast guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So
And Bryce Harper, because he started his career there.
And Juan Soto.
well,
Yeah.
now he's had to shut it down for a while.
Yeah.
Now's your chance, the Braves to catch the
No.
Phillies.
Oh, Bryce Harper got hurt again?
Well, he's decided it's just too much pain.
Okay.
Phillies
What's
have
the
been
purpose?
absolutely dreadful, too, of late. And the Mets taking advantage. 205-834-9450. 800-239-WJOX. People wanting to chime in. Some of you on what Simone Biles said. Tony, welcome.
Good afternoon, guys, and Molly.
Good afternoon.
Just wanted to say, first of all, that Auburn ran into an opportunistic Coastal Carolina team last week. They got walks when they needed them and base hits when they needed them and got hit by pitches when they needed it. And they were the better team for sure. But, of course, I'm an Auburn fan, so I say that, and I mean it. I think they ran into a better team. But the guy, Josh, that just spoke, I think that what he was talking about girls competing in boys' sports as a boy, I think he was referring to co-ed, because in Little League Baseball, girls can play in Little League Baseball, and it's a co-ed sport. It's not them competing as boys; they're competing with boys.
Right.
That's understandable when you're 12 years old and younger. That's understandable, but the USA Today writer that y'all spoke about said something about this it could cause violence toward that transgender community, and it spreads ignorance about that community. If you want to see ignorance and violence working together, look at what Gavin Newsom is doing in California right now, making a stand against the United States government because they're trying to defend the city of Los Angeles from violence. But what transgender the transgender community, what would be a great solution, which would be unaffordable, but Title IX sometimes seems to be unaffordable, is create a league just for transgender athletes. Give them their own awards, but don't let a guy compete against a girl. It's just not fair. And anyway, that's all I want to say about that.
Hey, Tony, thank you for the phone call. We appreciate you listening. A lot of text coming in. 205-834-9450 on the text line. A lot of them we cannot read. Well, I guess we could.
Let Conrad read them.
Hey, Conrad.
I love reading text.
It's like Mikey back in the old days. Remember Mikey would eat anything?
Yep.
Conrad will read anything.
Apparently, I'll eat anything too. When are we doing that?
Soon.
This week?
Very soon.
This week?
We got to get your labs back.
You taking blood samples in my sleep again?
We're debating whether it's that or the Kool-Aid pickle. We're
Yeah, I
not
think
sure.
I'll put my name in the ring. I'll go for the chip.
Not the Kool-Aid pickle?
I would much rather do the chip than a Kool-Aid pickle.
Are you serious?
100%, yes.
That surprises me.
No, I mean, I'm like Molly. Like, pickles are actually the bane of my existence, so I'd much rather do the chip.
We should have gone pickle.
You should have. Maybe next time. All right, we have text rolling in. Speaking of food challenges, someone writes in, many people truly believe that Landrum would get a tattoo on his rear. Many people truly believed that Conrad would actually accomplish a food challenge. And many people truly believed that Molly would review a horror movie. But just because you truly believe something doesn't mean that you aren't truly wrong. Thank you for the text.
Yep.
Corey says, can I identify as one of y'all from the station for the upcoming football season? Would love to get credentialed for all the games. I don't know if that's how it works. We'll see if we can do that.
I don't know. In some cases, you want that.
Yeah, I don't know. Jamie chimes in, thanks you guys for taking a stand for what's right. Without saying a word, my respect for Pat just went through the roof. I appreciate all of you for your stance. We appreciate you for listening. Let's see. A lot of people.
Go ahead.
A lot of people not taking kindly to the last phone call we had before the end of the hour.
Taking shots at Josh.
Yeah. Don't want to. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Let's see. Someone chimes in. They say, I only played high school basketball, but I got to practice with a college girls team once in my mid-20s, went into the post and absolutely destroyed everyone. I felt guilty and had to stop playing because they were all getting so upset at how aggressive I was going at the bucket.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but most women's basketball teams, they have student managers, guys.
Correct.
That they scrimmage against.
Yeah.
Because I've seen one of South Carolina's practices.
Correct.
And there are like 4 or 5 guys out there scrimmaging against the women.
Yes. Yep, that is correct. I don't know if everyone does that, but yeah, a lot of universities do that. Let's see. Someone chimes in, Mike in Huntsville, he goes, man, this world is going downhill with the transgender sports conversation, college sports going downhill with NIL. I'm starting to care less and less about college sports. Everything's just insane. Let's see. Hastings chimes in. The argument about girls playing men's sports as childhood is not what this conversation is about. It's about disadvantages. Girls playing guy sports at that age is not relevant. It's about the competitive advantage that they have later on. Let's see. Somebody else chimes in. Don't agree with this. It's all about the money, which is something we kind of alluded to earlier. Thank you, Smokey. Can't read that one.
Oh.
Can't read that one. Let's see. Bobby chimes in. So either the writer of the article is ignorant or just arguing in bad faith because it's been proven that biological male that has gone through puberty has an advantage over any biological woman due to bone density and muscle mass. Also, would Simone Biles be saying this if she didn't become famous from the one sport that it would be hardest for males to have an advantage over a female? Let's get a G League center and have them go one-on-one against Caitlin Clark in the paint and see how quickly people change their minds.
Yeah, if you missed it, this is what Nancy Armour wrote at USA Today. There is no scientific evidence that transgender women athletes have a physical advantage over cisgender women athletes, but that hasn't stopped Riley Gaines from claiming they do.
Well, let's spend some taxpayer money to find out. I thought we were already doing that. Maybe not. Continue, Conrad.
Someone chiming in, they say, I'm a Kentucky fan where Gaines competed in college, so you would think I would support her, but she didn't finish second in the race that she talks about. She finished fifth. This is her grifting on essentially a non-issue. talking about Riley Gaines.
But does it
in the
matter
race that
whether she
lost.
finished second, fifth, 10th, or 12th?
There's some other girl that lost the chance at winning a title or a trophy because of the male.
I don't find any relevance in where she finished in the race. So,
No, everyone wants to assume that Riley Gaines is making this all about her, not the good of
the dude
female
shouldn't have.
sports.
Well,
in
because
general.
nobody else had the to step up and make a situation out of it.
Gumption.
Bingo. Let's see. How many trans athletes compete in college sports? As we discussed earlier, not a lot.
That we know of.
Not a lot. Vicky chimes in. This whole mess is just making me really miss college football. 2.5 months away.
Boy, if you're... Yeah.
And can't read that. Yeah, I think that's it for now. Got a lot of these in the bank that we just can't read right now, but well, I read them. Flandrum's reading them, but we cannot share them on the air, but we appreciate all of you chiming in. Oh, another one coming in. Matt says, if there's no evidence that biological men have an advantage over females, then why is every track and field record in the world owned by a male? Thank you for your text.
I want a scientific study on why.
Yeah, that's great. Let's go waste more taxpayer dollars on a study that we don't need done, because we all know the answer.
We will continue with your text and your calls. If you're looking for a pontoon boat this summer, Poorhouse Branch Marina at Smith Lake is the only dealer on the lake to have Avalon pontoons. Avalon pontoons are known for luxury, comfort, and performance. And pair it with the most fuel-efficient engine on the water from Honda Marine. Poorhouse Branch Marina at Smith Lake also has Tahoe pontoons ready for family fun. Get it today with the in-house financing. See it all at poorhousebranchmarina.com.
We still have Pat Ponders on the way. We'll continue with the text that we can read, 205-834-9450. It's Three Man Front on a Monday on Jocks 94.5. Don't you know, Pat, the word stole this? No, is it? Well, it's this one, but it's also the.
Bohemian Rhapsody?
No, we didn't start the fire.
No, I do know that. I do know the words to that.
And we got to hear both of those today.
Yeah.
Did you play We Didn't Start the Fire?
That was the first song.
Oh, I didn't. Sorry. I was doing my taxes.
Conrad Men, am I right?
Can't stand them.
You and your sports, Pat. 800-239-WJOX. A lot of you chiming in on a variety of different topics. If you missed the House Settlement discussion, we led off the show with that. We've talked about it at great length. Mike Rodak on the impact that it could have, not only Pat for Alabama, but also the SEC and cutting of sports. And we do believe that that is a real thing, and this could be happening to a university near you.
No, I think it's inevitable. We're still waiting on some other details. The Power 5 commissioners did hold a Zoom call earlier today. It's a virtual press conference detailing how they're going to move forward, including the very college sports commission that we've heard so much about. Greg Sankey admitted that he played golf with President Trump yesterday. They discussed college sports. He said that he appreciated the interest and perspective from the president. He was asked what was discussed. He says, I believe those are best left for the moment on the golf course. That was from Commissioner Greg Sankey. Also in attendance on that golf round was Notre Dame AD Pete Bavacqua. So we tried to start the rumor that Notre Dame's coming to the SEC.
Yeah. We'll take them.
Why not? More the merrier. Kick a couple out and bring Notre Dame in.
If Notre Dame's going to break away from being an independent, I would hope that they would choose the SEC. And there was a little bit of traction if they had been posed with that option when we had so much realignment and expansion going on, that their fan base, at least from our buddy that we talked to, is it O'Malley?
O'Malley.
They're at Irish Illustrated.
O'Malley.
Tim O'Malley. At Irish Illustrated, he said, no, you'd be surprised how many of the Notre Dame fan base they would actually probably prefer going to the SEC as opposed to the Big Ten.
Brian Seeley, former executive for Major League Baseball, he has been tabbed with the responsibility of being the so-called czar or the commissioner of the College Sports Commission. So he is the guy that will answer to all the Power 5 conference members, those that were involved in the House settlement. Now, a couple of items to point out for those that are maybe not as versed on this House settlement. Starting this previous Saturday, NIL deals must now go through a clearinghouse. The original date was June the 30th. It is now June the 7th. Wednesday, the NIL Go portal will launch. Sunday, June the 15th, the opt-in deadline for non-dependent schools to fully commit on revenue sharing. So everyone must sign the documentation that we are all in $20.5 million in regards to what you are going to need to pay. July 1st is the first date for direct institutional revenue sharing payments. So you can write checks starting on July the 1st. On July 6th, the opt-in schools must designate student athletes permitted by settlement to remain above roster limits. So that was part of the House settlement. What Judge Claudia Wilkin came back and said, you guys need to fix this because I don't want people to lose their scholarships that's already on your roster. So you have to be identified by July 6th. Then the start of the academic year, there will be an exception for the designated student athletes that Judge Wilkin pointed out from a roster standpoint. But fall sports must be at or below roster limits on the first day of competition, meaning football, you cannot be above 85. But in the SEC,
right,
it's 105.
How quickly are they going to do away with that second transfer portal?
Oh, I think that's going to happen quick.
Especially with this going on. You thought it was a nightmare before.
Yep.
Well, and like we talked about when we were waiting for a decision to finally come down, a lot of these schools, they had that plan, but couldn't really move on that plan until everything was finalized and the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed, and thankfully it is. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, not only at the Power 4 level, but to schools and conferences, schools like UAB and others, and conferences like the American, what happens in the Sun Belt and some of the other conferences, and not just in college football. What does it look like in other sports?
So Judge Wilkin, it was a 76-page opinion. We kind of joked about that earlier. She's 75 years old, so maybe she wanted to, write a page per year of her life.
Yes, her memoirs. We will open up the phone lines, 800-239-WJOX. Our buddy Miles is in Mississippi. Hey, Miles, how are you?
Good afternoon, folks. I think the previous caller had an excellent idea, because who wouldn't want to watch a drag queen pole vault competition? That's top-notch entertainment.
To each their own.
Are y'all familiar? Are you familiar with the Roman myth of Icarus?
No.
That was getting too close to the sun, correct?
Yep.
Yes, and burned his wings off.
Yes.
Well, in the end, that may be what ends up happening with today's athletes in college, and I'll tell you why. As I'm sure you all know better than I do, attorneys right now are crafting Title IX challenges to this House settlement. And there's going to be plenty of them, because Title IX challenges are made at the university itself. So you could have 20, 30 Title IX challenges in like a week. Not only that, but at what point, somewhere along the road, are you going to have students who are not athletes suing the school because they don't want to pay athletic fees anymore?
Yep.
So this settlement is going to invite a lot of litigiousness, and in the end, the football and basketball players may end up saying we had it better beforehand.
Miles, you make great points, because look at what all spawned just from little old NIL and letting this particular snowboarder or this particular, it's only the elite of the elite when it comes to college football. And then look where we are now in all of college athletics. It was just supposed to be for just a few, right? Those extenuating circumstances where this kid's got a brand and they excel in their sport, but now it's everybody.
That's right. My advice to that crew who did, tried to push this lawsuit against the NCAA would be this: hey, life's hard, but it's harder when you're stupid.
Miles, really enjoy your phone calls always. Thank you.
Good to talk to you.
All right, you as well. Miles, listening on the Jocks 94.5 app there in the Magnolia State, great state of Mississippi. Appreciate those phone calls. Chris has been waiting, I think, since 10:01. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Oh, guys, I was just fine until the Stallions pretty much just put us underneath the preferable, what do you want to call it, proverbial
pasture
casket.
Oh, casket.
Because
what was the mood in the end zone, Chris? What was the mood?
What was the mood?
Mm-hmm.
We was expecting at least one Birmingham bounce, but yet they couldn't even get in the end zone at some point. If it wasn't the opposition catching the ball, doing it that is, because offense had struggles. I honestly wonder why he took out Jamar after just one pick, but then the defense couldn't stop a nosebleed on a hot day in the summer of 100+ degrees. The special teams was susceptible to that fake kickoff, fake reverse kickoff, and pickup. And most of all, what hurt my soul was that Bryce run for 3rd and 14.
Yeah, that was big.
Disgusting work.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 80 y'all couldn't tackle one guy. Then the second one was that wide out, pretty much taking everything and going and running with it, and we were reduced to, he just ran for it. It was 10 yards away from it, and the guy just gave up on it. And I was like, at that point, these are NFL scouts looking at y'all, and this is what y'all put on tape: lack of effort, pursuit. What are we doing? yeah, I don't want to get signed. You want to be on someone's highlight tape to get signed, clearly, but not actually trying to do what it takes to get signed by an NFL team.
Right.
And last but not least, Pat, can you stop with the politics and certain sports, man? I understand it's a topic, but it just brings out the worst in people.
What politics did I bring up?
The whole transgender stuff, and I understand you're a girl dad, but I'll say take it off the docket.
Girl dad, I got 2 boys. What are you talking about?
I mean, you think
I was going to be news.
Who's it among?
Yeah. Unless somebody has come forward that I'm aware
Connor,
unaware
Dylan,
of.
boys.
I was going to say a girl dad though, but it's more so the case of like it just toxifies the airwaves, and I want us all to generally like accept us for what our differences and
hold on a second, Chris. Okay, no, and listen, I listen. We'll take credit. I'll take criticism on this show. That's fine. This is what we signed up for. At least I did. Maybe not the rest of them, but I did when I decided to make this my career. But I thought we were very respectful for Josh last hour, just because somebody has a different. That's what's wrong with this country. Is that you can't have a discussion just because someone disagrees with what you feel or think politically one way or another.
I'm fine with the disagreement or whatnot. It's just
nobody's yelling at anybody.
No.
Dunking, I mean, Conrad couldn't even read half the text.
I don't know if you paid attention. It's not just a subject and interjecting it into sports. It's in everything. Everything. People are hateful and mean, and vitriol comes through.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the UFL podcast guy. I mean, he literally just hated on Birmingham people and talked about how
talking about stuff outside the field, man. I don't look to hear the Fox News aspect or the liberal aspect. I'm just here for the ball aspect.
I understand, and listen, we respect that, and we appreciate your input.
We do,
Chris.
Thank you, Chris. We appreciate the phone call.
Thank you.
Be careful out there.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll continue on Reaction Monday. 1-800-239-WJOX, 205-834-9450 on the courtesy GMC text line. 132 Jocks 94.5 Paul Feinbaum Show coming up at the top of the hour. Sure, Paul will have plenty to say about the House settlement that was brought down upon us late Friday evening. Nice little news dump.
Is he going to have Simone Biles on his show?
Well, hey, Kentucky. There's an SEC tie.
I could, man, the show that we would have had, the parodies that I would have written.
You might have had the pole vaulters like the last caller was suggesting.
I could have had Liberty Bell in studio.
I'm just thinking back to the Olympics on the actual pole vaulting competition, that unsightly thing.
Why didn't you laugh at that? Did you not laugh at what I just said?
What did you say? Sorry.
He missed it.
What'd you say?
I could have had Liberty Bell in studio.
Oh. Mm-hmm. You certainly could have.
For those that do not know who Liberty Bell was in the history of the Paul Feinbaum Show.
Yep. I remember those calls.
In studio. We had Liberty Bell in studio.
Oh, y'all did?
Mm-hmm.
Was Liberty Bell from New York?
I think Liberty Bell used to be in the Navy.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
He was in the Navy, and then he became a...
Was he like the guy from MASH that was constantly trying to get...
Like Klinger?
Yeah.
Like he was trying to get a Section 8?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to dress as a woman?
Yeah.
And Liberty Bell performed here in Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
Like song and dance.
Had a routine.
I think it could be considered a dance.
I'd never saw Liberty Bell in Liberty Bell's profession, but understand that Liberty Bell was quite an entertainer.
Very revered. Yeah.
Liberty Bell no longer with us.
I am not sure of that. We have lost a lot of great callers.
LB, if you're out there, give us a call. That's Liberty Bell.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah, I got it. Liberty Bell.
Just make sure.
Oh, my goodness. When was that, Molly?
2019.
According to this article at AL.com, Liberty Bell passed away in 2019.
Sad to hear that. We'll continue with your phone calls, 800-239-WJOX. Let's go to Roll Tide, Rob.
Hey, everyone. How's everybody going? I hope everyone have a great weekend. And, Pat, I hope you had a great couple days off, I guess. I don't know what you were doing.
Well, I mean, the moat, I had to do some work in the moat and got that, respectable for the summer months. So, did a lot of work in the yard. Appreciate it.
Well, I got a couple guys that can take care of that for you.
Hey, you got a bushwhacker?
Anyway,
you got a bushwhacker?
Yeah.
Okay. I might need one. I'm just asking.
Well, we're a landscape company, so yeah, we can do that. Hey, Simone Biles, where in the world did this come from?
Where did it come from, Conrad? You're the one that had all the notes on it. When did it happen?
Twitter. It happened over the weekend on Twitter. It was her and Riley Gaines got at it on social media.
All right. Well, I think whoever said that, when Simone said early in her career that if there were men competing in her sport, she would probably never won a gold medal, and that's probably true. Next thing is, y'all, I'm sick of this, and I can't believe NASCAR is doing it, but I have to go on Prime to get the NASCAR race, and I can't flip back and forth between the Stallions and the golf tournament and this, that, or another. I wish they would just quit that. Did they make any money off of that? I guess they do if they're doing the Prime on NASCAR.
Yeah, they're not doing it for practice.
Well, yeah, I understand that. Yeah. All right. My last thing is Stallions. They didn't look very prepared to me, y'all. Sunday, they looked like there was deer in the headlights, and Michigan was just really ready to come in and just knock their lights out, and they couldn't take the punch. And I'm sorry to say that, and Don, I'm sorry to say, hey, look, our team was just not prepared. They did not know, and they just played the daggum team 2 weeks ago, what was coming at them. And the other coach had had them prepared. Say, all right, this is what we need to go in and beat them, and that's the first time we've ever beat them. Thoughts?
I'm not sure that they weren't like completely ready to play. I just think Michigan had a better game plan, and not to mention the fact that their quarterback that has really been an exciting part of their offensive explosion throughout the year. He was not available a couple of weeks ago when Birmingham played him the first time.
No, and he was a problem. He was a problem yesterday. He was calm. He was poised in the pocket.
He was
even
20
with
of
the play,
25 throwing the football.
How they weren't able to wrestle him down on the play where he escaped.
And it's hard. I mean, it's hard to beat somebody 3 times in the same season. Honestly.
Yeah, would it beat them how many times in a row?
7.
Yeah, it was 6.
7.
7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
It was kind of like Vanderbilt beating Alabama. Very difficult to beat Vandy.
Well, no, because Alabama beat Vanderbilt like 67 times in a row, not 6 or 7. You know, but anyway, hey, great guys, I hope to be out there at Social Taco tomorrow. I'm not real sure. This weather's got us kind of behind, but anyway, thanks for taking my call.
Thanks, Rob.
Appreciate y'all, and y'all take care.
Thank you, bud. Thank you. Hope to see you tomorrow.
Man. Thanks. Roll Tide, Rob.
Funny. So it's good to hear from him.
Yes, it is. Always good. Let's 205-834-9450. Oh, a lot of stuff coming in. Yeah, we will get to Pat's questions in just a little bit. He's got Pat Ponders. We'll roll with that as well, as we always do.
Well, as we know, we have a long summer of heat and humidity ahead, so keep your home comfortable with Trane, America's most reliable HVAC brand. And to give you more peace of mind, Trane is offering up to 10-year warranties on parts and labor on select home comfort systems. So to learn more about this offer and to find a specialist near you, visit Trane.com.
More 3-Man Front on this Reaction Monday. This is Jocks 94.5.
143 three-man front. Appreciate your participation today. Those listening in North Alabama, listening on the Jocks 94.5 app, our friends listening there on Jocks 740 in Montgomery, or you're watching us on YouTube there on Jocks TV. We always appreciate your time and your interaction. We got Pat Ponders that's going to roll your way momentarily, but always remind you about our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks, that's the best way for daily fantasy users to take advantage of all that you know, all of you geniuses, where you can take player projections and any two that you guess correctly, you can be a winner. You can win up to 2,000 times your money, whether it's professional basketball playoffs or professional baseball, which is where we're going to go today. Chris Sale has been a lot better here of late. Braves, unfortunately, have not been, but tonight against the Milwaukee Brewers, Chris Sale, 5.5 strikeouts, more or less, Conrad. I am feeling good about more than 5.5.
I was about to say, starting pitching's been good for the Braves, so I'm going to go more. Yep.
Nick Pivetta. So we're going to go more on that one. Nick Pivetta, 4.5 strikeouts. That is a pitcher for the San Diego Padres as they take on the Dodgers later on tonight. They get them at home, if that changes your mind. But 4.5 strikeouts for Nick Pivetta.
I'm going to go less. Dodgers had a rough weekend. Bounce back against the Padres.
All right, I'm counting on you. And I will blame you on this one because I kind of was anymore. But
well, then go with your
gut. No. You stop it.
I appreciate you.
You stop it. We'll go less there. If we guess right on both of those predictions, we're a winner. Check them out. Prize Picks. You download the app today. Fill out all your information. WJOX is the promo code, and your first player projection, like the one we just did, $5 or more. Win or lose, $50 instantly back to your account. Promo code WJOX. Don't forget that. We appreciate our friends at Prize Picks.
Braves are favored tonight. Minus 1.5 runs against Milwaukee.
Yeah.
That's a win. Like a win. Just being favored is a win.
Even on the money line.
Not actually winning.
They're in good shape on the money line. They're minus 147.
How will they lose tonight? We will find out.
In devastating fashion, I'm sure.
Yeah. 5 questions for Pat. We try to answer. This is what we call Pat Ponders.
I want to know what you're thinking. Tell me what's on your mind.
It's time for Pat Ponders.
Brought to you by Courtesy GMC out in Trussville. Get by and see them off of exit 32 I-459. Brand new cars, pre-owned vehicles, or if you need something done in their body shop, or like I did on Friday, the service department. Get an oil change, get new tires, did it all.
They check your fluids.
They do it all right there at Courtesy GMC. All right, question number 1. Spent a lot of time today talking about women's sports. So which popular women's team sport do you like to watch the most? Why are you shaking your head?
I wasn't.
Because this is so you.
It is very on brand. I will go with softball. I really enjoy watching college softball.
I like women's soccer.
Ooh,
I like women's soccer too.
National team, like Women's World Cup soccer.
Yes.
Oh yeah, sign me up for that.
That's good stuff.
Absolutely.
Since I worked so many of those events over the years.
Volleyball?
Beach volleyball.
Beach volleyball?
Yep.
Okay. I'm with Molly. I like international women's soccer.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Oh, that's good. What about rugby? We forget about rugby.
What about breakdancing?
Historic moment.
Oh, Ray Gun? I guess that was more of an individual sport.
She's from Australia, though.
Yeah, we don't count her.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I like volleyball too, though, Landrum.
Yeah.
Another one for me is U.S. Women's hockey.
I thought you were going roller derby.
No, hockey in
Hockey's
the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
They are really good.
I will say, and I did definitely benefit because I do Mountain Brook volleyball now, and they're really good. I was never really got that much into volleyball, but last year watching them play, and again, they're really good. But it was like, this is awesome. Yeah, very fun.
All right, question number 2. Yesterday, the Dodgers played in St. Louis with Clayton Kershaw on the mound. During the game, the Cardinals played a clip of the 2014 playoffs when Matt Adams homered off of Kershaw. So after the game, Kershaw called the move by the Cardinals Bush League and said he wouldn't expect anything different from St. Louis. So this begs the question, is it Bush League, let's say during the Iron Bowl, if Auburn plays the kick 6 on the Jumbotron, or if you're in Tuscaloosa, the Tide plays the Gravedigger play?
No.
Is it Bush League for an opposing school or a team to play a clip that impugns the other?
No. Not if it happened during play. Now, if you're taking a personal shot at their family or something they said away from this, no. But if you're actually taking a clip of somebody hitting a home run or an iconic moment that happened involving those two, no, do it. It's all fair.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. It's part of the game. It's trash talk, whatever you want to call it. It's just another form of that. So yeah, I don't have a problem with it. That's part of the fun of the sport, right? And if you feel a certain type of way about it, then go respond the way that Clayton Kershaw did by having a great night. We had the same thing over the weekend. If y'all saw the Red Sox pitcher that made the comment of, well, if the Yankees were the only team to offer me a deal, I'm going to retire. And Aaron Judge went out there and hit a bomb off him in the first inning. If someone's going to talk, let them talk and then go respond the way that you can. So yeah, I have no problem with that.
That seems like that's just good-natured. Hey, remember this? We thought we'd show it.
Yeah, you're just ribbing. It's whatever.
No, it's part of the game.
Very odd for Clayton Kershaw to do that. You can tell the frustration of him towards the back end of his career. His first win of the year, he went out and pitched a great game. The Cardinals have won the first 2 games of the 3-game series. They're about to be swept by the Cardinals. And this was early in the game. I mean, just played a clip of Matt Adams hitting a home run in 2014 against Clayton Kershaw.
I was about to say, he's been around the block enough times. Like, you should be.
No, out of line would have been showing a highlight of a news story or a mugshot of a player that had a checkered pass. And
Absolutely. Yeah. That's crossing a line. I agree with that.
Today is National Donald Duck Day. Who is the 3rd and 4th face on the Disney Mount Rushmore after Mickey and Donald?
Oh, that's a good question.
Goofy?
Okay, that's your 3rd. Who's your 4th?
That's
Pluto.
That's a good question.
That's a great question.
I put Minnie.
So you got Mickey, Donald, Goofy, and Minnie on yours.
I guess I should include a female character. Minnie would be up there. Was it Daisy Duck? Is that Daffy's squeeze? Was it Daisy Duck?
Yeah, that sounds right. I think that's right.
Okay.
Is Squeeze?
Yeah.
Does Cinderella count as Disney? Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
she's got to be up there.
You're putting Cinderella on the Mount Rushmore of Disney?
Well, she'd be. I'm just thinking of all the Disney princesses. That's like the most iconic one.
I thought you'd go Aladdin.
I thought you'd go Snow White.
I'd go
Little Mermaid.
I'd probably go Goofy and Cinderella.
Lilo.
Those would be my next 2. I'm more of a Stitch kind of guy.
Really? Didn't take you for a Stitch.
I loved that movie growing
Stitch.
up.
Yeah.
I loved that movie growing up. Apparently, the new one kind of sucks, but.
Does it has to be animated? Just gonna go from Disney movies like Emilio Estevez in the role he played in Mighty Ducks.
See, because that does change things for like people my age. It'd be like Hannah Montana or something. Would be like the.
Yeah.
What's the park again? Disneyland or Disney World where it changes the characters that are walking around. They can't interact with one another. Is that right?
That's both of them.
I think it's both of them.
Really?
They have like very specific rules about like how they stay in character and things like that.
Yeah, you'll see on occasion, somebody that will sneak a picture of, let's say, Mickey with his head off smoking a cigarette.
Oh, yeah.
During a break or something.
Yep.
So does that guy is that status in that world? Like big time status?
I would think so. I would think so.
I would think that would be the pinnacle of your existence, is to be one of those characters.
Yeah.
I would think.
Okay. Assumed it was. I didn't know how many they had. We felt
that's
sorry
a good
for
question.
that.
Do they have multiple for the same character, or do they just you're Mickey Mouse 7 days a week for the next year, buddy? Good luck.
I think the way Disney does it, they probably have a couple of backups.
Yep.
I would think so.
That is probably just for that particular character because they're so. They're so particular.
Sorry, kids. Mickey has jury duty.
I'm 3rd alternate Aladdin. We're so proud of you, Johnny.
Mickey's hungover.
Yeah,
sorry, kids.
Yeah. Mickey's had to go back to training. Made an inappropriate comment.
He's in court today. All right, next question. With it now being official that colleges can directly pay athletes of $20.5 million per year, do you think this will bring about more parity in college sports?
Maybe for some, but
at the highest level,
some are gonna bend the rules. I don't think at the higher levels it changes a whole lot.
I don't think it's going to be all that dissimilar to what we have right now.
No.
I think more than anything, you might, for the benefit, which nobody talking about, but let's just, I kind of brought it up earlier. But if you're one of those schools and you don't have a whole lot of energetic former graduates that are pumping in money to your collective, or maybe it was a one and done, hey, I'll do it this one time, but go and find some other people. If you don't have that, you don't have some of the folks that you need, or you did under the old system, and you still have that under the collective, then this is a way for schools to have an avenue and to force their school to give some of that money, come off some of that money, and it go towards those men and women.
And I have to imagine, a year from now, you're going to start seeing the articles of, how has Texas constructed their $30 million roster in the new era of college football? And it's because they're going to go through and have all of these legitimate deals that get passed, and yeah, it's going to be above the 20.5.
What do we get that story 15 years from now? How the House versus NCAA settlement made UMass football
into a juggernaut.
The best in America.
What do you think, Molly? Think it'll make more parity?
I think it's just going to be the same.
Well, it's interesting. So did y'all see, because this kind of, I think, flew under the radar with the House settlement stuff, and this is very minor, obviously, but the new EA college football video game, they came out and said that they are going to directly pay universities based on how popular they are in the game. So you already have people online like, if everybody just plays as Kennesaw State for a year straight, we could build them into a real-life powerhouse. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen, but
I noticed in the EA release, they did not say exactly where it's going to be capped out at. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, you might not get
the example they gave was like $50,000 is probably what a lot of the bigger schools would get.
Yeah. That's going to do it for us. Join us tomorrow. Social Taco from 10 until 2 o'clock. Hope to see you there. Paul Feinbaum Show's next.
Yep. God is great. You're good.